What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show on another Tuesday. I don't think we have much to talk about, though, to be quite honest. I mean, there wasn't.
No big news or anything happening.
Well, I think there's. Listen, I'm going to spend the first hour I'll scroll through Twitter, see what pops up, and I'll just kick it to you guys. We'll see what's going on.
I'm sure we'll find something.
Yeah,
help, please.
Sure. Well, my sarcasm aside, there are a few things to talk about considering Disney had D23 on Saturday, and a couple of gentlemen here were there. I don't know, was it better in person than it was on the stream? Because we'll have some thoughts on this, but I didn't really think the show. And by the way, we're not an echo chamber because we don't all agree on this, but I kind of thought the show was a little odd. Put it that way.
Little cheesy, but it's okay.
It's okay. We'll talk about it. Before we get to any of our topics, though, first off, what's up, everybody in the chat? Thank you guys for being here. And we have got some super chats we're going to get to. We will get to those momentarily. We got Matt Muir in here. We got Spencer, Kiki, and Luca. What's up, Kiki and Luca? We got theme park conductors in the chat and on here. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he's here. He got a both. We got Jabberwocky. What's up, Jabberwocky? Den Peterson, Mr. Webba, Storybook Sorceress, Remy D. Everybody, a bunch of people are in here. So I think you got Wicked's in there too. I don't know how she did that. Apparently you guys figured that out.
I'm a wizard.
She's a wizard. But before we get to any of that, thank you guys for being here. Let me introduce our great panel to go over these topics this evening. We have Mr. Orange Girl 55 in here with his. I believe you have filed, as conductor says, you have patent pending on your hair. I believe that's the status.
I do. I absolutely do. But I appreciate Jared, amazing host as always. Wicked, it's good to have you back on the show. We got Conductor back. We got Fast Guy. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. But yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking all this good stuff. D23. We actually dropped a few D23 videos on my channel this past few days, and really fun stuff on location. Had a great time. So check it out. You can also find me on X, Orange Grove 55, and you can find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Absolutely. By the way, I figure you have a great icebreaker if you ever run into Josh tomorrow, because I know he's going to be like, "What hair product do you use?" And you guys will just hit it off.
We'll hit it off, man. I'll get that special access real quick. He's
like, Vidal Sassoon, and you're like, I can't tell you, and he's like, I gotta know, but
gotta know.
We gotta know. We're also joined by Wicked Virtue for the first time on Theme Park and here. Wicked, thank you for being here. Where can everybody find you and what you got going on here on YouTube or anywhere else you got going on?
You can find me Wicked Virtue everywhere. I have my main channel, which is just Wicked Virtue, and then Wicked Virtue 2, which has video uploads. I do, new pop culture news. I have a couple podcasts every week. I do cosplays, theme park stuff, just kind of a little bit of everything.
Swiss Army knife of content.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
We'll go some over there, and everybody, at least on my end, everything will be in the description. So you can go subscribe over there as well. We're also joined by Mr. Vash Sky, and Vash and I broke down this stuff in very, very detailed fashion on Sunday for a 3.5-hour live stream. If you guys are wanting to know all the tidbits of what was announced for Disneyland and Disney World, go check out that stream, because that is a great one there, and Vash is always prepared. But Vash, thank you for being here. What do you got going on the Vash Sky Park cast over there?
Man, we got so much going on. My goodness gracious. It's been a crazy whirlwind weekend filled with Jared, filled with Wizard. I know OG's been pumping out content on his channel, and so have I. My goodness gracious. There's been so much to cover, and hopefully you guys really do like the D23 content. We went over it with Vash and Vixen, actually going over the entertainment showcase and everything related to that. That was very, very interesting. Did a watch along with WW Pro, so it's been a lot of fun indeed. Expect some more D23 and some news over tomorrow. That'll be our Wednesday stream after that Park Place at 2 p.m. Eastern, and on Thursday 6:30 p.m. Eastern, talking about all the news. That's very, very interesting. Bob Iger getting a window on Main Street. It's crazy. Is it deserved? We'll talk about it tomorrow.
We love to see it. We'd love to see it. But it should have been. It should have been Robert Iger, like cardigan seamster or seamstress, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It should have been a cardigan store.
I got it. Well, that's a good point. I also have a little, listen, somebody dropped me something. I'm pretty sure this isn't photo or AI or anything of that nature. and I think this is more fitting for Mr. Robert Iger himself. But I think his window should say Chief Acquisitions Officer. I think that makes a little bit more sense. Maybe I don't know about Chief Architect, but that's what he has out there in Disneyland. I suppose that I know Vash is just. He is holding back a rant of all ages about that one. I know. So maybe we'll get that out of him later.
Some might say a stampede.
I could listen to you read the dictionary. His voice is so soothing, is it not? He is so smooth.
Voice. He's very smooth. A few comments about that.
He could start a channel for like calming channel for sleep or for studying, just reading poetry or just anything. Yeah.
Study with Vash. Just
the Vash Guy StudyCast. Gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
We gotcha. We got it.
I'm full of ideas.
And we're also joined by Mr. Theme Park Conductor, the Choo Choo Conductor. I got nothing. I thought my brain would come up with something. I got nothing good, but a Conductor has some good stuff here. Who is also D23. He has some opinions as well. Conductor, what do you got going on in your channel? Thank you for being here. And where can I find you out there?
Of course. So like you said, I'm Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we have Jared from Capture the Magic, Orange Go 55, Vash Sky from Vash Sky Parkcast on that channel, and will continue to be on that channel in the future as we break down theme park news from Disney, Universal, both on the West Coast, East Coast. We have a great time doing it. And what's coming up on the channel, actually, we're going to resume Conductor Sunday live stream happening this Sunday. Then in the next week or so, I am going to be preparing for the opening weekend of Halloween Horror Nights here on the West Coast.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Sir, I'm excited. I'm excited for Halloween Horror Nights this year. And I'm excited. Listen, I'm pretty basic. I love when the fall stuff comes out for like coffees and stuff. I know it's mid-August.
Are you a pumpkin spice person?
I am in doses. You can go too much on pumpkin. There have been a few times where I'm just like, I don't think pumpkin needs to be in there, but pumpkin cream cold brews, like that is my weakness in the fall. So I will be getting a few of those. So I'm
an apple spice person, like in baked goods. Just give me all the apple stuff.
That's what my wife is too. She loves apple. She gets a chai. Well, they have the chai latte, but she always gets apple something in there. It's pretty good. So she's right there with you. But looking forward to that. Well, speaking of, before we get into talking about D23, this popped up today, and I thought it'd be prudent because we talked about this before. And personally, I'm not a real huge fan of what they've done with Epcot, with the Epcot overhaul. But we've talked about how they at the World Celebration Gardens had this in-ground lighting that, didn't quite work for various reasons. We're not really sure exactly. Maybe it was maintenance that didn't follow protocol. Maybe it was the people that built it didn't relay to maintenance about it. But either way, this had become a really big issue with, panels popping up. You got screws being put into this that really looked terrible. And then yesterday, I would say yesterday, they started blocking this area off. And like, okay, what are they going to do with it? And then we saw them pull up all the lighting and everybody waited. And then it seems like that Disney is abandoning the in-ground lighting here, and they are filling this in with concrete.
Oh.
So it looks like here, according to this, that they are just completely not even going to mess with this anymore, and just absolutely given up on it, which this would have been the third attempt, I think, to fix this. What do you guys think about? Is this a good decision? Because I can't say I'm shocked that they did this, but I'm really curious what you guys think about the decision here not to even try and rehabilitate this.
I think that if there's no way, or they're not willing to spend the money to make the lights work, this is the best option, because I think it was such a bad show with those lights malfunctioning and them like patchworking that thing, like pounding nails into it and all. It was bad. So if they're not willing to, for whatever the reason is, not fix the lights, then yes, this is the best option. It looks better than lights that are all messed up. But ideally, yeah, I wish they would have kept the lights. I don't know why they can't do the lights. Epic Universe has a bunch of LED lighting, right? In their
and Epcot did it for decades with the fiber optic stuff they had until they tore it all out. And I don't think in-ground lighting is that difficult of a thing to figure out. But yeah, I agree. I'm a little I'm a little I guess in their eyes this is no longer going to be a conversation piece around this.
Is it possible though that this is a temporary fix to get it like smoothed out and just like not a trip hazard basically until they figure out the lighting? I mean, do we know that this is a permanent thing? I don't know.
I don't think we do. I mean, I guess time will tell. But I mean, if you're pouring concrete in there, I feel like that's a pretty permanent. I mean, that's not the easiest thing to get out of there. Like once you pour that, you'd have to bring in jackhammers, and I feel like if this was going to be a temporary fix, that you might go with some other material to just put in there in those channels. You know, in the meantime, would be my guess. But what do you think about this? Anybody else? Vash, you guys?
I think the lights like working properly obviously look better, like more appealing, and it like just kind of like not that the ball, like the dome really needs to be like accentuated anymore because it's already just like a statement piece on its own. But like obviously like, well, when it works, it's like that looks a little funky. It looks better, but I guess I can understand why they're filling it in, but it's just, I'm surprised they couldn't think of anything else. Like it's Disney, you work your magic, make it work.
You would think. And what makes it worse is we lost the Fountain of Nations for this.
Yep.
That's a pretty good point.
That's what makes all this even worse is that part.
Don't like it. I don't like them abandoning this. I think there could have been solutions found. They obviously didn't pursue them. They obviously wanted to go ahead and throw their hands up and say, hey, let's never deal with this area again and concrete them over and you know, wipe our hands of it. But again, you know, this is a good reminder that our version, our concept of fixing might be different from Disney's or Disney technicians or Disney maintenance, etc. So it's really important to understand that when you're talking about fixes coming, I don't know, say to the Yeti or to Journey into Imagination or to Tomorrowland, these things might be just a little bit different than you imagine them. Now, we did get a little bit more clarity from Scott Gooston today on the Yeti, saying that the Yeti itself, let's see if I have it here. I might not, but he was saying that it will be reanimated, right? That there will be, you know, a moving audiomatronic in that space, which is very, very good because a lot of people after seeing something like this were saying, is it going to be like projections and so forth? It doesn't look like that's the case, but still, it's important to follow stories like this because there are things that maybe Imagineering wants to do, right? There are maybe things that Disney wants to do. And then there's what they can maintain and what they can fulfill. And I think this particular segment came at a crossroads, which is sad because I think Theme Park Conductor, you brought up the fact that, you know, at Avengers Campus, they were at least eventually able to figure this out. And it's sad that the same process couldn't actually take place in Epcot.
It is quite sad because as we're seeing video footage, it looks absolutely beautiful. But again, the way I look at it is I look at it as a baseball analogy. You've tried it 3 times, you're out. So you know what? As far as I'm concerned, just do yourself a favor like they're doing. Cement it over as much as it pains us. And if you want to do something in this area, I agree with you all. Bring back the fountain. At least we'll have something that's beautiful instead of worrying about tripping over a plastic piece that's sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
Well, and I had brought up, I mean, I've had a couple of videos talking about this more than a year of this like being this not only tripping hazard, but just, and like you said, OG, like bad show. This is right in front of Walt's statue. It's just like, what are we doing here? I get the impression, and I could be wrong, but at some point, they're going to have to redo this Epcot overhaul because I don't believe this Epcot overhaul has gone very well, has not been received the best. And I think the whole purpose of that whole overhaul was to set Epcot up for the next, what they say, decades, plural. Yeah. You can't even get a lighting package to work for, 3 years since this is open? That's not a good omen for this park, and not even to mention Communicore Hall, what they had proposed and had concept art for, what we ended up with. Do you think in the coming years, given what, and we'll talk about in D23, one of the things that seems to be a theme going on is Disney really trying to listen to the fans, more fan service about what fans have been asking for. Do you think there's any chance they go in here in the next, let's say, 10 years and start redoing some of this stuff that they just now got redone?
I think it's a big possibility. And actually, I will get into, when we start talking D23, I will get into the listening to fans thing, because I think at face value, it sounds great, but I think you can overdo it as well, but we'll get into that later. But I do think that the trajectory, you can kind of tell this new era under Josh D'Amaro and Thomas Maslam, there is almost like a hyper fixation on kind of just going through the checklist on what fans want and just kind of check. I think, Jared, you're right. I mean, I think, it's a very good chance of that happening. So, and we got Drunk 3PO in the chat, by the way. What's going on, Jay?
What's up, Jay?
Hi, Jay.
Jay is a big fan. I don't know if he's a fan of the lights or not, or if he likes the concrete. I guess he loves.
Well, I'm not sure. He did see working lights in the ground over there at California Adventure recently when he visited for the first time there. So, inspiration for the future, I guess. I do hope, like OG said, I hope one day they do re-examine this specific area, right? And maybe imbue, maybe, outside of that questionable looking planter, maybe doing something with like a fountain, maybe something with embedded lights, and make this whole thing work. Perhaps not as well as maybe they intended, but something that is somewhat of a middle ground between spectacular and something they can actually maintain. I know Showcase of Wishes in the chat right now. He's like, hey, look, they had the fiber optic lights in the ground for forever, and they worked, and it's fine. And I do agree. I mean, this is maybe one of the issues when you completely demolish stuff, when you completely get rid of stuff, and you say, we're going to do it better this time. Don't you worry. Sometimes what came before was done that way before for a reason, and that requires a re-examination as well. R.I.P. to the Fountain of Nations. But, OG, on that point, and, I'm going to start going over to the panel just a little bit here. Thomas Maslam on Tomorrowland at Disneyland Park, he said this: Tomorrowland shows once more that we are listening, that we care about our existing lands and attractions as much as the new ones. Tomorrowland is such an important part of Walt's original theme park. It represents our dreams and aspirations for the future. And like Disneyland itself, it is important that it never stops evolving and improving. Figment and the Yeti may not be household names to every Disney guest, but they are certainly favorites among our most loyal fans. I want them to know that we hear them, and as a Disney fan myself, I can't wait to see these characters back in action. That was Thomas Maslam talking about all of this stuff. And you can see, coming out of that February media summit, right, where they told everybody there that we were going to be focusing on guest surveys, on friction points that the guests are experiencing, the systems and operation connected to our business. We're going to re-examine all of that. He's now taken that philosophy with him to the chairman division, which we were all hoping for. And I think this presentation, maybe the future, signaled by the Experiences Showcase, reflected that mindset and philosophy, which I think is good. Now, what does fix and listening to guests mean? Time will only tell, but I think he's saying the right things, but words are cheap.
Well, here's my thoughts. I'll get into the listening to fans thing before we start the D23 talk, but my issue with listening to fans is that, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I don't believe the fans are always right. And I think a lot of times fans are very closed-minded. And I've seen it. I've been in the community for a really long time. I've seen outrage over projects that end up opening and people loving at the end of the day. Mission Breakout, the outrage for that, when that was announced, was tremendous. It opens, and now it's one of the most highest rated attractions at the entire resort. Nobody wanted Pandora going to Animal Kingdom. I heard all the arguments that these are not real animals. It doesn't do the conservation theme. And it opens, and now it's the gold standard for doing Avatar and theme parks. The issue that I have with listening to fans is that when you listen to fans, sometimes you skip over things that might be really, really cool because fans are complaining without all the information. So that's my issue with listening to fans. I'm not saying that we should ignore fans. At the same time, I think when you just listen to fans and go through you're checkboxing everything. You take all the risk out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to get on stage and announce a new Tomorrowland. That's like saying, I'm going to give everybody a $5 bill in the audience. Easy, cheap applause. I want Disney to start taking risks. Josh D'Amaro got on ABC with Bob Iger a few months ago and says, I'm a risk taker. So take the risk, Josh. Go ahead and spend a lot of money on Pandora, even though you're seeing backlash, and wow us. Everything I've heard about this attraction, I've heard from people that inside the connected, whatever, saying multiple sources saying this thing is something that you book vacations for, this attraction. But the fans don't know any of that. So the fans are going to say it's terrible before they even know what it is. And we might lose out on that amazing area because the fans can't see it being in that spot or something. And it's kind of frustrating. We wouldn't have Pandora. We wouldn't have Mission Breakout. I think the list goes on and on and on stuff that we wouldn't have gotten if we only listen to the fans. You got to take risks. Sometimes good things come with stuff that the fans didn't ask for, in my opinion.
I can see where you're going with that.
Well, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but my thinking on this was not a Josh D'Amaro initiative. This was a Bob Iger thing that he probably announced way too soon when he did announce it. And so is this something that obviously this is not a priority because now Tomorrowland is being prioritized over this one. And also there's the question marks around Pandora. Now, I completely agree with what you're saying because I think Pandora's a great land, even though I don't care about the movie franchise. But it does make you wonder if this actually does happen because this was not something that, maybe this was something Bob Iger himself really wanted and he just kind of forced it in. And now you're left in a situation where what do you do with this thing? Now Bob Iger's out of the picture. Now maybe James Cameron himself is out of the picture of Avatar movies going forward. It is a very interesting scenario this sets up. And I think the longer time goes on, the chances of something getting cut obviously go up.
Right.
So I think it's in risk. I think it would be great what you get if they end up doing it. But at least to me, I think when you're looking at some of this fan service stuff, though, I think a lot of this could be a little bit of trying to have a knee-jerk reaction a bit to not listening to the fans for a bit. Because they maybe had a period of time where here's what you're going to get, deal with it. And then now we're like, okay, this correction mode where we maybe end up somewhere in the middle. Because I agree with what you're saying too. Fans many times, you'll hear it all the time. Doesn't make any sense, not logical. So you can go too far in that direction. I think maybe at some point they end up in the middle of this. But I don't go to Disneyland, so I can't speak to what that park needs and what would be great for it. But I can understand maybe why this is kind of being in limbo right now. If I'm looking at everything going on around this per se.
That's a fair point. And here's the other thing too. And this is my cynical brain kicking in, right? I did a couple great videos at the hotel with Mr. Webba. We talked about this, but Tomorrowland has been sitting there in bad shape for 30 years. I find it highly suspect that all of a sudden now we have to rush to get this thing reimagined. And we're going to rush into this, we're going to squeeze it in between Coco and Avatar. I find the sense of urgency extremely fishy, in my opinion. I think there's more to it. It is kind of odd that we have this deadline coming up with the electric cars for Autopia, I think in February. I think that the submarines are obviously aging. I think that there's something else going on with Tomorrowland. I think that there might be some major stuff that might I don't know what it is, but it just seems very fishy to me. There's this big rush to get it done right now. And maybe that's just me being cynical, but it's you guys didn't care about it for 30 years. And now all of a sudden we have to Avatar, we announced this in 2023. So I don't understand why we need to rush tomorrow. Is Disneyland struggling? It doesn't seem like it. Why do we need to rush Tomorrowland immediately? I don't understand that. It seems like there's some other motive behind this move, and it's not what they're saying. Go ahead, Bash.
Well, think about what has happened in that time, OJ. Remember when Avatar was originally announced by Bob Iger for the Q2 fiscal year 2023 earnings call, his first one back at the company. You gotta understand that Marvel, Star Wars, a lot of the franchises that Disney had really been hinging their hopes on, and were certainly in better positions at the point at which Bob Iger left, were not in the greatest shape when he came back. And the biggest movie that they had, the biggest franchise that they had, was Avatar with the Way of Water releasing in 2022, December of that year, right? And it had just accumulated $2 billion. So he was acting actually within his fiduciary duty to say, hey, we're going to leverage our franchise, the one that we actually purchased with the $70 billion Fox purchase, might I add, and we are going to go ahead and spin it off as part of our flywheel by bringing that to Disneyland. And this is why, OG, why we both said, hey, look, listen, this is going to be a larger experience than fans are saying. Yeah. Remember at the time, it was like, it's going to be meet and greet, all of this kind of stuff. But times change with the years, right? Now we have the third film out. It received 35% less of its box office worldwide than Way of Water, right? And Bob Iger, he himself, who championed this project originally, is now retired. John Landau, unfortunately, no longer with us. We are hearing that James Cameron might actually walk away from this franchise. Joe Rohde, who championed the first one and obviously helped create the Pandora at Animal Kingdom, he's gone from the company as well. What I'm saying is that a lot of things have changed, and a lot of the power players, a lot of the people who would have otherwise approved this or at least championed it might not exist at the company because Josh D'Amaro's in charge, and well, that was Bob Iger's baby. It's not necessarily mine. There's a lot of open questions with this specific franchise, which is why that might be why they're pushing this out in order to answer perhaps those questions.
Well, and I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
Well, no, I'm just saying, with this pushing out, OG, you make a great point. We're no longer working within 1 to 5 year time scales on this. Now it's more like 5 to 10 years.
Right. And
the media industry, everything changes in that amount of time. I mean, look at how much things have changed the last 3 years with Avatar. Look at how many things have changed in entertainment the last 10 years, right? Star Wars couldn't do any wrong 10 years ago. Marvel was the biggest thing since sliced bread. And obviously so much has changed from a company's perspective, entertainment perspective, and everything else. So that's why I think them putting it on the back burner tells me they just are cooling on this idea to bring this at all.
My issue with that, though, is they're not doing that with Indiana Jones in Florida, and that franchise hasn't done anything in a long time in the box office. But aside from that, though, I get really uneasy when Disney starts to get reactive like that. Though the last movie didn't do so well, so now we're gonna cancel this or delay that. That sounds like Lucasfilm when like they have Patty Jenkins. Oh well, you did Wonder Woman, so we love you. Come over and do a Star Wars movie. Oh, Wonder Woman 2, never mind. We don't want you now. It's very reactive, and it's like Avatar as a film franchise maybe isn't really super hot culturally, but as a theme park franchise, it's still crushing it. It's one of the highest rated areas and attractions in Disney's portfolio. And so it reminds me a lot of like Indiana Jones, where maybe the franchise is kind of limping along, but the theme park entities are really, really strong. I don't know. I mean, look at this. This is gorgeous. DCA to have this would be absolutely insane.
But you know as well as I do that the overlay, which is what Indiana Jones is for Dinosaur, is a lot less risk because the cost is so much less than what Avatar would otherwise demand. I mean, Avatar, Pandora at Animal Kingdom was well over $1 billion worth of investment by the Walt Disney Company. So you're talking about tremendous risk. And what did Josh D'Amaro say in the last earnings call? He said, every investment that we make is going to be rigorously scrutinized in order to maximize ROI. All I'm saying is the company might be committed to it now, but things change in 2, 3, 4 years as we wait for this. And the enthusiasm they may feel now might not be reflected years from now.
And that's a fair point. And I just, for me personally, when I see Josh D'Amaro get on that interview with Bob Iger on ABC and talk about how he's this big risk taker, I mean, Josh, put your money where your mouth is. Take the risk. Spend the money. Blow people away. Take the risk. That's all I'm saying. And you're right, Vash. You're not wrong. I mean, this is a huge company, and they want to minimize that risk. But when I hear from Josh that he's down for the risk, I mean, it doesn't seem like it, because it seems like they're getting on stage and they're sort of giving everybody what they want to hear.
But here's the thing: would you say, and then Conductor and Wicked, I want you to chime in too. Do you think Pandora is the thing that you would want to be like, I'm going to take the risk on? Because personally speaking, I know Pandora is great at Animal Kingdom, but It's not. I mean, they had a big year in 2019. Obviously, there's other issues with the Animal Kingdom, but like that land is not really like that park's struggling with attendance while they continue to build this stuff. If you have a lot of questions around this franchise as it is, and again, we're information that we may not know. I mean, maybe they know, like, maybe the reason they're pausing this is because they know James Cameron's not going to be involved. They're going to do a movie without him, and they're waiting to see how that does. And if that movie does well, maybe they'll be like, okay, then let's continue. But I think if it was me coming in and my predecessor had this pet project, I don't know if that's what I would be putting what I'm willing to take a risk on. I think I don't know this, and I don't know Josh tomorrow, but it's like, if I was going to personally take a risk on something, it would be on something that I believe in myself, because I really am like, this is going to work. And sometimes those things do work, even if the fan base doesn't want it. That could be what you're looking at here, is just, this is a vestige of the old regime. And they're like, I'm not staking my name on this, because if this fails, they're going to say, this is Josh Tomorrow's baby and not Bob Iger's. And that may be something he wants to completely avoid.
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, because, if this movie does fantastic, like, okay, let's go forward with it, because I'm not a big Avatar person. I've only seen the first one. It was fine. I'm not like a hater of it, but I'm not, the biggest fan. But I do think Pandora is really cool at Animal Kingdom. I think it's really fun, and it is always busy. But that was built like during I guess that when the hype was still going for
they announced
the original.
it in 2011.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I mean, I think it does depend. If the movie doesn't do well, I don't think they're going to go forward with it, because they're going to look at it just as like they're dumping money on a project that will possibly not do well. I think it would still do well, because there are still people that have love for it. And people that will enjoy the land even if they don't like the movie. But I feel like if it doesn't do well, they're just going to be like, well, maybe we should can it and go with something else. But I don't know. I have no idea, because they're all over the place. Like, they announced this so long ago, we thought we were already going to have it over there. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe he isn't a risk taker. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because a lot of people have suggested, putting Zootopia in DCA, and on paper that sounds fantastic, because people are right when they say that Zootopia feels like DCA. I mean, it feels like a Pixar movie, even though it's not, right? And DCA is full of Pixar. So yeah, it absolutely fits DCA. That's my problem with it, though. I want to change the game for this park. I want to really rattle the cage here. I want to make this park, I really want to take a risk and swing for the fences. I don't want to do, oh, okay, that's DCA, throw it over there. I want to change things up a little bit here, and I don't know. I feel like Disney, or they kind of get in this good is good enough thing with DCA all too often, and we finally have an opportunity here to blow people away in this park. And I mean, look, honestly, we didn't hear anything about Coco at this expo. We got 2 pieces of concept art, and we found out it takes place between Coco 1 and Coco 2. That was it.
Requirement.
And no height requirement. Yeah, that was.
We also know that ride is a no-brainer. Like, that's going to do well. Like, it's going to be really hard to mess up Coco, especially like in Disneyland. I would say like that's one where it's like, it is what it is, sort of thing.
Right.
I love Coco. I'm still so mad that they don't have a Coco ride like at the Mexican Pavilion in Epcot. That should just be rebranded as Coco. Like, that would be.
They wanted to, but it cannot handle the crowds that would bring. That was the issue. Because if you did put Coco in there, I mean, you've been in there. Like,
no, I love it.
You got a 10-minute wait in that line. You're almost out into the middle of the pavilion. They would have to rework the whole thing, because I know they looked at it at one point, and I think they just came to the conclusion like, we can't. And this ride in Disneyland, this may be some of the versions they were going to do over here.
Mm-hmm.
They just took over there, because I know at one point they really were looking at it pretty closely. Conductor, what do you think about this?
So I find it interesting. I do agree with OG. The model is absolutely beautiful. Like, I mean, looking at it in person, it was breathtaking. They really learned from 2 years ago from the model they gave us, which was piss poor. I'm just going to be honest. So it looked really nice. The problem I have with this whole Avatar situation is we were banking on, me and OG have talked about it in many, many, many videos we've done together, even with Jared, with you, Vash. We were all banking on they were going to talk about Avatar at the Parks panel, and they did not. All they gave us was an updated, beautiful model in the Imagineering Pavilion, and that was it. And that's what scares me. But on the other hand, if you look at it, Tomorrowland, yeah, it is weird that they're announcing it now because we've all talked about it. And it's possible we all thought they were going to maybe announce in 2028, which would make more sense. But they decided not to go that route. What I also find interesting is, and we're going to bring it up here in a little bit, is the permit that was filed from Disney to get rid of the last 4 ticket booths on the side of that security hub, where they're going to do massive construction to bring Avatar in that spot if it's still happening, bring the bridge over harbor in that area, and possibly have Tomorrowland bleed into that area as well. What I also find interesting is in the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, they are retrofitting that area to handle bus load and unload and Uber and Lyft pickup and drop off as a temporary solution while the Eastern Gateway is being built. And it begs the question, and OG, I agree with you. When we all saw that ABC news conference with Josh Tomorrow, Bob Iger, I 100% agree with you. He said he was going to do risks. And I agree. Doing Avatar, the way the model looks, and we haven't even seen the other half of it, would be a risk. But it also, if you really want to play the devil's advocate, Tomorrowland is a risk. Because if you think about it, the way it was built, it is a risk because you have to rip 99% of that land out to rebuild it from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And it was talked about that they're going to be bringing more attractions than the land has currently. So it begs the question, with Autopia having to go electric in February of 2027, and the fact that this announcement from Thomas Maslin lines up with D23 here in August, could they just maybe subtly make an announcement on social media? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but let's say, to play devil's advocate, they do, and they say they're getting rid of Autopia and the Lagoon. That way they don't have to sit there and retrofit the Autopia. It would be cheaper just to rip the whole thing out, since they're already ripping into Tomorrowland.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Conductor, because I touched upon that a little bit ago. I think that might be the real motivation behind a lot of this stuff, because the timing is really weird that they're shoehorning it in. And we didn't remember, D23 was this past weekend. We didn't see any news on Autopia electric vehicles, did we?
Nope.
None of it.
I think realistically, those things are they're going to get rid of those.
Oh yeah, to save costs. Of course they are.
I would love to know how much it's going to cost to get electric little go-karts in there. They probably were like,
this was after, by the way, a Disney spokesperson actually said that they were actively testing a prototype Autopia vehicle. So that's kind of the most ironic thing about this, is that they really did suggest that this was, oh no, Autopia's not going away. We're fine. It's all good. And now, who knows?
Well, Vash, I want to ask you on that, since you brought that up. Did that spokesperson clarify, and maybe I missed it, did they clarify it was for the Disneyland Autopia, or was it for the Speedway in Magic Kingdom?
It was a Disneyland spokesperson, so I can assume that it was for Disneyland, and it was for the story that I think OC Register and a couple of other people had that were going into it. So I'm pretty sure, it was about that. And here's the thing, Florida doesn't have the same issues, let's say, that Disneyland's Autopia is dealing with. So it kind of makes sense that Florida just stays the same and California is forced to change.
Well, and we have a huge space issue out here too. I mean, we're trying to wring the towel to get any kind of drop out of this land, right? And we had to go through all the hoops, all the hurdles to get Disneyland Forward approved. Meanwhile, Autopia sitting here on 97 acres. Like, what are we doing? You know,
that's what I mean, OG. Like, why would you put money into something that takes up so much land instead of just getting rid of it, using the idea of electrifying it and moving it to the Motor Speedway in Magic Kingdom, because didn't we all hear for the last year and a half, there are times that when those cars are going off in the Magic Kingdom, first of all, they're loud at times, not all the time. They're loud and they leak fumes.
Yeah.
So why not retrofit it to electric and kind of make it that Tron-esque feel to those?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna respond to Showcase real quick because I love Showcase. Showcase is the homie. We love Showcase. But he said that Avatar destination could be added to Pandora in Florida. I'm gonna say this, Showcase, be fair to California. Okay, we gotta be fair to California. Oh, and I want to say this too. I want to be completely honest. I want to give a shout out to the Floridians, though, the Florida fans. I'm being serious here. I love the passion on the Florida side. Anytime like Anaheim or some other resort gets a lot of great stuff, the Florida fans are like, yeah, but what about us, right? Like they really fight to get stuff in their resorts. You know what I'm saying? Like the fireman, it's like, it's there. The West Coast needs to step it up. We got to step it up, West Coast. We do not have that same energy. We got to bring it, especially with a guy like Tomorrow who looks like he's focus grouping everything. So he's really listening. We have to step it up, California. Come on now.
Yeah. We're a rowdy bunch over here in Florida.
That's true.
I love it.
You got to see our Tomorrowland Speedway. It's just a bunch of mullets and people running around. It's crazy. Now here's a question for the Disneyland people.
Okay.
I wonder if this is an and/or situation. Would you rather have a Tomorrowland that this has been a problem for 20 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have that fixed? And who knows? I mean, I think that's not a thing because I think same with Disney World. A lot of those interconnected buildings, got to bring those up to code. That could get really expensive digging into that. And I think that may be why this was delayed as long as it was. Would you rather have a refreshed, revamped Tomorrowland, or would you rather have Pandora? Because I'm wondering if it is maybe this situation where it's sort of one or the other right now. Not forever, but like at this moment.
I'm going to get a lot of heat for this. Okay. I'm just letting you guys know.
Are you going to say Pandora over Tomorrowland?
And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Disneyland is dang near A+ in terms of theme parks go.
Sure.
You're just making it an A++ at this point with the new Tomorrowland. DCA needs this. We can't even, the Incredicoaster needs work, and they can't even shut it down because we don't have enough big rides to offset that being down. Like this park needs big things. It needs to wow people. The other thing too, if people travel from around the world or out of state to Anaheim, they're going to go to Disneyland no matter what. DCA is always the expendable park. If you can lock in people for DCA, you lock in both parks. You don't necessarily guarantee both parks when you don't necessarily always guarantee a DCA. Like some people might go to just Disneyland and opt out of DCA. It's never the opposite though. No one ever comes to Disneyland and just goes to DCA. So if you can make DCA a must go to park, you're booking more. Your occupancy goes way up with the hotels. You're booking more packages and things like that because people are going to do both. So it's more important, in my opinion, to make sure DCA is a must-go-to park because people are already going to Disneyland. Like, what are you trying to say? You're already singing to the choir at this point.
You'll remember that Ben Fritz actually wrote in his Wall Street Journal article going over the tumultuous time in Imagineering during the Chapek years. That originally Disneyland managers, when approaching the idea of actually reconceptualizing and reimagining Tomorrowland, actually declined it because what OG said right there. They felt that any substantial change or modification to Tomorrowland wouldn't meaningfully move the needle when it came to attendance. So that's why historically Tomorrowland has just been, the land that'll be built tomorrow, because the priority was on other aspects of the resort that, with meaningful or substantial modification and addition and expansion would actually move the needle. Actually, Jill Estorino said this to Scott Gustin, as found in the Substack right here. DCA has had a lot of attention and a lot of the focus, and rightfully so. We needed to, said Jill Estorino, the president of Disneyland Resort currently. It has become a world-class theme park, and I'm so happy to say that, and it's really standing on its own. So that's why they're saying that that they're shifting focus. Now, do I fully 100% believe that? No. I do think they are pushing out the Avatar issue. Or expansion, because I think they're maybe perhaps waiting for a larger franchise to perhaps take its place. I don't think they're fully committed to Avatar in the way that maybe perhaps a Bob Iger-led regime was. And the fact that, when you look at the upcoming Tomorrowland overhaul, they've now said in Disney Parks blog posts that, we can't wait to update you in the years ahead on what we have planned. So that pushes everything out enormously when looking at the timescale and everything actually moving. The fact that Tomorrowland, like you said, OG, for all the reasons you said, has now been prioritized over Avatar says a lot about either project.
Go ahead, OG. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, Vash, you make an excellent point, because as you guys talked earlier, the regime change. That's what Iger wanted. He wanted Pandora. And don't get me wrong, I've warmed up to Avatar coming to DCA. But on the other hand, if you have Jill Estorino, the Disneyland president, you have Josh D'Amaro, the CEO. You have, Thomas Maslam as the park's chairman, kind of leaning towards that Tomorrowland. I don't know. There could be all these fans saying, no, don't do that. But if their decision's made, their decision's made. Now, on the other hand, because they've said this, they will not start Avatar until the Eastern Gateway is built. That is 2 years from now, if everything goes according to plan, maybe even 2.5 years. I'm not saying Tomorrowland, if they start digging in it tomorrow, would be done in 2.5 years. I'm not saying that. But it would be far along where they could get it ready for the 75th, or maybe even have it ready for the 80th. Because we all know a kind of this Magic Kingdom like touch to our Tomorrowland is not going to work. There needs to be some serious deconstruction, rebuild to make our Tomorrowland proper. And I do agree, because I was hanging out with Bricky at the Imagineering Pavilion. We were looking at this model, both of us, and how it lines up, where they want to put it, and all that. It makes sense. But the problem is now you have James Cameron, who is the creator of Avatar, wants nothing to do with it anymore, wants to move on to other projects. And I'm kind of scared that, Disney still wants to make the movies. And since they haven't really done so well with the live action remakes, it kind of makes me worried without James Cameron, where's that going to lead Avatar going into the future?
Well, that's a fair point.
And if you think about this too, Avatar in the Disney parks is all completely a Bob Iger pet project. He's the one that got it for Disney World. He's the one that bought 20th Century Fox for Disney. This was always his thing. I think this could just be as simple, and this is a thing you see in companies all the time when somebody comes in. A pet project for one, administration is not the same for the next one. Josh, now maybe there's something in mind they have here, or maybe like Vash, maybe they're waiting. But if it was me personally speaking, I don't know if I would pull the trigger on Avatar right now with all the question marks around it. As much money as you're going to put in here, I have no doubt to be a great theme park land. But as IP heavy as these things are, I can understand a little bit of the, even if it's a let's wait and see how these movies do without James Cameron. And if those continue to drop off, you're sitting there going, you're already talking about a franchise that weirdly enough doesn't have a huge cultural impact. I think you could do this land. Maybe this same ride system exists for just another property, something similar. Or maybe maybe he is a risk taker, OG. Maybe he's going to do some IP-less ride. Maybe this is not something attached to a movie. Now that would be a risk, I think, more than doing a Pandora ride.
That might, if it's a really good ride, that might be a good idea, because you could always rebrand it to be something that's doing really well, right? Like make something that's gonna age well. Sometimes, if you're gonna hop on a franchise that's popular, but it starts to fizzle out, that isn't the best idea, right? That's where like I agree with what OG said. Like you should listen to fans, yes, but don't completely change where you're going because fans are saying certain things before they have the full picture. Because you could have something like because they can't tell everything, right? Like an example, when they were building Epic Universe, we've seen little tidbits, but they kept a lot of that under wraps. And then it came out and people were just blown away by the different spots. So I think listen, yes, because you don't want to completely ignore the people that are going to be giving you money when this opens up. But at the same time, trust the creative team and just do good, right? Just do stuff that people are going to like. So I don't think that's actually a bad idea, doing something that doesn't necessarily have like an IP attached to it, because you could always add it. You could add that, later.
It's true. It's true. And you make a valid point. My other thing is, too, they could be building these lands simultaneously. Because like I said earlier, if you look at the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, they are retrofitting it for Uber and Uber drop-off and pickup, and they're retrofitting it for the bus load and unload, which tells me right then and there that whole side of the security entrance in the Esplanade coming off harbor is going to be closed off. They're getting rid of those 4 booths. Permits were filed. So it's like they could build both of these lands simultaneously. And I would not, hate that, because now you're getting Avatar that people want DCA. Well, a handful of people or a decent amount of people, and you're getting a new Tomorrowland. So I don't know why that would be such a bad idea. Yeah, both parks would be under massive construction. I understand that. But in the end result, people get what they want on both sides of the park.
Yeah, if they do both, I'm a happy OG. Now here's the thing, though. Vash, you mentioned Jill Esperino, that quote, and I'm glad you brought her quote up about how we've done a lot of heavy lifting or investing in DCA like the past few years, and now we're going to focus on Disneyland. And I'm thinking to myself, what exactly have they done? I mean, besides Coco and Avengers, which are still under construction, we got what? Avengers Hallway? Like Disneyland has gotten a 15-acre Galaxy's Edge, Tiana's, a Toontown makeover, an e-ticket. It seems like Disneyland's been getting all the investing the last few years. There hasn't really been. What, we got San Francisco over there at DCA? What did we get so big the last few years at DCA? She's crazy.
I think Jill Estorino was talking about her time when actually working as part of the Disneyland Resort back when Disney California Adventure was being overhauled the first time, and that being 2012 redo, add Cars Land and Buena Vista Street and all of that. So I think that's what she was specifically referring to. I do agree that Disneyland has been getting some love, especially with the reinvigorated Toontown, Mickey Minnie's Railway, the redo of Splash Mountain, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and the like. Right? There's no question about that, and they have said in the short term that they're going to develop still Avengers Campus and Coco, and this is where I want to kind of take this, is what is concurrent, what is consecutive. I do think that this is they're looking at a phased approach where phase 1 has obviously a couple of concurrent projects, which is, I do believe, Avengers, Coco, and the Eastern Gateway infrastructure is all concurrent in phase 1. In phase 2, that's where you get Tomorrowland, and then in phase 3, that's where you get Avatar. I do think there will be overlap between those phases. I'm just saying the bulk of the let's say construction capex is going to be in that order. And that's kind of what they've expressed, both Jill Estorino and Emma O'Brien. Emma O'Brien, obviously, in charge of the Tomorrowland project. So she reiterated the same thing that Jill did, and I think that's kind of where they're going forward. I do agree with you, OG. It is one of these things where it's like, why Tomorrowland now? Right. And I kind of wonder about the scope of the work and how broad this will get. Let's say like how ambitious they're going to get with this, right? Like, are we talking about the complete removal of basically everything there, or are we talking about maybe the north side having those attractions removed? It sounds to me that it looks like the 67 buildings, that being the entranceway containing Buzz Lightyear, Star Tours, and Space Mountain, are going to stay. Everything else, though, I think that's up for debate as to whether or not it stays or not. They did say that they want a more a Walt's Tomorrowland in keeping with what he actually built right there. It sounds to me, I think Scott Goosten included it in his Substack that it was going to be 1955. I don't think so. I think it's going to be more 1967, and that whole take on this land. But I do kind of wonder about the scope and how, if Tomorrowland got prioritized over Avatar, is it lacking in scope compared to Avatar, which is why Avatar got pushed back? Like that, those kind of things kind of interest me.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Vash. I want to say real quick, Kiki and Luca, we love Kiki and Luca. Kiki and Luca is the man. He said, "Did everyone see OG give Spanish lessons to the blue-haired Imagineer on the show the other day?" I haven't laughed that like that in a long time. Yeah, there is anyone in the chat who knows the blue-hair Imagineer's lady's name, please do. Because I mean no disrespect, but like. The way she was pronouncing Encanto was driving me nuts. She was calling it Encanto, and I was like,
her name is.
I watched Encanto.
Yeah,
The Land of the Dead. I don't know what.
Oh my gosh, that makes me think of
Ali Rubenstein. Just
the meme where it's like when like white girls go to like a Mexican restaurant and say "gracias." Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm sorry, that just made me think of that.
This is also the internet. She's just blue-haired Imagineer from now on. Even if we learn her name, it's just
that is her name now.
The internet has decided it.
Nobody knows Ali. Everybody knows blue-haired Imagineer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't make the rules.
Absolutely.
I think when you're talking about this, I do think once you start digging into Tomorrowland, that could become a very, depending on the scope there, that could be the big question about like Encanto of how you could easily see it's like a house that you're refurbing and then you get in there and you're like, oh crap, this thing's a mess right now. And then it's a money pit. I could see that being a reason. But I also think too, in my opinion, if you're able to bring Tomorrowland for, as an homage to Walt, I personally think to me that's a better look for you as a brand than it is maybe. And then maybe that's why you hold off on Avatar for now. It could still happen, but I could see that being a reason, especially just like this has been a 20-year problem. The longer you put this off, the worse it's going to get. At some point, you got to stop kicking the can down the road. And I'm also talking to the one in Disney World as well, because that one is also not in the best shape in the world, but I think your guys is worse. Yeah. And so if they're in this situation where it's like, hey, we need to go in here and they are doing that at Disney World, at least I can speak to, go in here and fixing some of these areas up. Maybe this is a company-wide initiative where you're going into these places that have needed it, repairs and things done to it for years.
Right.
And they're just deciding right now, okay, let's do it as maybe fan service, but also maybe this is Thomas Masloom comes from this signature collection, which I do think brings an interesting perspective to this because, and Bash, you probably know this as well, signature collection is all about, catering to your high-end, customers, things of that nature.
Correct.
And this could be a different approach we have here. Josh tomorrow comes from the parks. Obviously, he has a little bit more wherewithal what's going on here. This could have been on something like the minute I'm CEO, these are my hit lists that I'm going to do, and we may be starting to see that right now.
Well, he was the head of what is it, Disneyland, right before chairman of experiences, right? He kind of knows Disneyland situation. He kind of knows like the expenses that are associated with this. And OG, you pointed out that Thomas Masloum is kind of more of an efficiency guy. Well, if you want to talk about the peak of inefficiency, it would be unfortunately the submarine voyage. That thing does what, minus 900 people an hour, but the unbelievable amount of expense tied to maintaining of the submarines, maintaining of the lagoon. Yep. You have to have divers in there every single day. You have to have all kinds of rigid maintenance schedules in order to keep the lagoon painted and so forth. And with like glass beaded paint, which is very expensive. It's all of these things where Thomas Masloum and Jill Estorino might be saying, you know what? Let's go ahead and solve this Disneyland Tomorrowland problem, not just because of the fans, but because we want to go ahead and get some of these expenditures off the books in a very similar manner, right? That Jeff Val felt about Rivers of America back in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting, Vash, because this Tomorrowland project is going to be very interesting because I do believe we're going to have some casualties here with some of these attractions. I'm very curious the fan reaction to some of this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if we do lose Autopia or the subs, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we lose Buzz Lightyear. They didn't really update ours like they did the one in Florida.
They
right?
just painted it.
Yeah, they painted it. It's like that'll do
Ours
it.
actually now is actually a lot of fun. I hated that ride for the longest time. It's actually kind of cool now. I'm not gonna lie.
Now, real quick, because I think we should get into some Florida stuff before. I know. Wicked. While we have Wicked, I do think it's good to get into some Florida stuff.
Be fair to the East Coast, OG.
We have to be fair to Florida.
Fair to Florida.
But Remy D here says the Encanto rides have names that are unnecessarily long. You know, Jared, are the mullet Florida guys going to have a problem with these Encanto names?
They're just gonna call it like, I want to go on that skull ride. What's that thing over there? Yeah, that'll be how that one kind of goes. Listen, the Florida man, and rednecks from the Midwest are very, very similar. Little differences, but they would get along really well at like a camp out or something. You know, they get into trouble together. But
I love it.
yeah. Well, let's move on. Well, I will also, because I do want to get Wicked's perspective on this, and then I'm guessing my kids are going to go to bed here any moment. So let's move over and talk about. Well, Wicked, what do you want to hit from D23? It's your call.
I
was thinking Spaceship Earth, but we've got stuff going on all the parks.
Villains Land.
Villains Land. Do you want to hit Villains Land?
Yeah, let's do villains. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, Disney, of course. I think of all the things that they're doing, Villains Land's the least controversial. I think this is the one where people are like, yeah, we've been wanting this for a long time. Let's do this. And we talked before on a previous streams as well about how there was that rap article about how this was going to be in a different direction. This was going to be a Kronk coaster. This is going to be family friendly. All these things. Everyone's going like, what? Drew the Disney Dude came on here a couple months ago, said that's not true. That is not going to be the case here. This is going to be they've had these plans locked in. And Drew is right, because they went on stage and even openly said at D23, we've heard these rumors, and we kind of presume they're going to have to give some more details than maybe they wanted to. And they did give us, funny enough, they probably give us the most details of anything coming to Disney World. And this project's the farthest one out. So we have 2 rides that they announced. And these 2 rides, let's see, you got the Maleficent Coaster. Did they give a name for that, by the way? I can't remember.
No, I don't think they gave a name for that.
Okay.
I'm not surprised by that. I think Maleficent is like the most. What's up, Kings? I was just typing hi, so I don't got to type it now. Hi. She's the most popular. Do you guys have the villain show in Disneyland as well?
No.
We don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, so Jared, you've been there, right? You've seen it, the Disney show?
I have seen that one, yes.
It's every time I've only been once, and I've seen like clips, but it seems like I think they have the same villains every time. I was told before that they might switch them up, but I know that at the very least, Maleficent's always there, and she always wins.
Yeah. It's like a little contest at the end
Yes.
about who cheers and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that she's really popular, and I'm excited for this, but who knows how long they're gonna take to actually get it done, right?
That's a whole other I think I've said for a long time you're looking at well past 2030, in my opinion, when this finally is done. They also announced a dark ride that is not a boat ride. They have gone out of their way that to say this is a dark ride that I think this could maybe simulate being in water, but it's going to go through the catacombs of Villains Land. I think honestly this looks great. They did it simple. They said the name of this land is going to be Villains Land, which I don't think you have to overcomplicate it, because this is what everyone's going to call it anyways. This is Villains Land. The architecture of this looks very close, at least from what we're seeing on some of the originally showed with concept art, which are like, okay, which I had doubts about if they were going to really pull all that off. When it comes to Villains Land, at this point, I don't have a lot of like critiques. Granted, we don't have a lot of information yet. Maybe 2 rides only. If they only do 2 rides in this land, I think that could be a critique a bit. But other than that, I think the direction that this is going does look pretty promising, because Bash and I talked about this. They cannot miss on this one. Any projects they are doing, they have to nail this one, and they have to go big with it.
Yeah, I gotta say, man. I mean, that D23 Parks panel was Disney World, the Disney World show, and I mean that in a good way, because one of my favorite things was the Villains Land stuff that they showed us. I thought it was the perfect tone that we've been really worried about for a long time, ever since that rap article, like you mentioned, Jared. But even the Indiana Jones stuff was like incredible. I mean, that was so spot on. I look, besides leaving Avatar out of the presentation, and Coco didn't get much information, what they did announce for all this stuff, and especially the Florida stuff, was really, really, really good. So I'm encouraged. I mean, I think Villains Land looks amazing. I thought it was really funny though when they were doing the presentation and they were like, "We have a name for Villains Land," and he goes, "It's Villains Land."
Yeah, exactly.
The crowd goes nuts.
I wonder if they were listening to Jane Nicholson when it came to that, because she was like, "Why do you do this? Why do you come up with all these convoluted names?" And indeed, some people, some eagle-eyed viewers of this like storybook presentation of this Villains Land will have pointed out that the Dark Forest is capitalized, and everybody's kind of wondering whether or not that was going to be either the name or part of the name, Villains Land, the Dark Forest, something like that. But no, they went with Villains Land. I think that's appropriate, right? Villains, it's already in the name. People are going to call it Villains Land colloquially. And they're also going to be searching for those terminologies and so forth. It's already SEO optimized. It just makes sense. Don't mess with a good thing, which is what they actually said as part of this presentation. I will say, from what we are gathering here, going off of this initial piece of concept artwork, which they showed off first to everybody in 2024 at the Experiences panel, then I think is like fantastic. Like, keep consistent with this, keep consistent with the tone, and it does seem like they answered the call when it came to that famous True Taylor rap article, right? That suggested that they were going in a different direction. They have been quick to point out, no, we are going to keep it scary, which is significant because Disney has kind of shied away from scary in recent years. In fact, changing over rides completely. Like, for example, the changes to Snow White's Scary Adventures to now Snow White's Enchanted Wish and so forth. Here they are saying, no, we are going more adult. We're going a little bit more scary versus, I think this is why Piston Peak was a little bit more kid friendly. This is, they're supposed to balance and complement and be complementary to each other. And I think that was the right call. Now, with the coaster, it looks absolutely fantastic. You're going to be going around Maleficent, and they said that she will be there. We are assuming a fire-breathing dragon, which is very cool, and consistent, by the way, with the old concepts of Beastly Kingdom, where that was going to feature a coaster around a fire-breathing dragon, which is fun. Don't know the roller coaster manufacturer, but it's probably a Vekoma, and it's probably a more traditional coaster. So, should be a lot of fun. And
I think it would be smart if they do like Maleficent, like an animatronic before she like is gonna change. Then like the next scene you go through and it's the dragon. I think people would be very hyped if they did something like that. That's what I want to see.
I'm hopeful for like more of like a Hagrid's style coaster, right? Something that it can the whole family can get behind. Can feature show scenes, can feature heavy theming and so forth, right? Wicked, you'll know that there's those show scenes where it circles around Hagrid himself and that little scorpion creature, right?
Yes.
It would be cool to have the Maleficent's dragon like snapping at you or blowing fire at you and that kind of thing. That would look awesome. Very, very cool.
Such a missed opportunity if they don't do something like that.
I agree. I agree.
It would be cool. I want to see when it comes to the dragon. I want to see like massive scale, like the walkers in Rise of the Resistance when your car goes underneath and the huge legs.
Yes.
I want that kind of scale, like with Maleficent. Like you're like under the belly of this dragon. I mean, that would be so sick. Absolutely sick.
It would be fantastic, and I think it would be extremely cool. It looks like the concept model, I do believe, is what they're calling it right there. Looks very consistent with the concept art that we've seen. So if they, go with that rock work, like kind of Tehran from Phantasialand in Germany, or maybe perhaps Velocicoaster, that kind of rock work that's intermixed with that coaster, I think will look very, very cool. Heavy theming, awesome stuff. Do wonder if this is going to play out in the rain. I guess we'll see. But the other thing with that is, these, you can see the Twisted Trees concepts, obviously taking that from the Enchanted Forest that Snow White actually goes through in the 1937 classic. That's very cool. Again, something that maybe the 1955 Imagineers already did, but They're doing it for in a land. That's cool. The storyline of this, right, where somebody actually goes to the wishing well and wishes like a poisoned wish that corrupts the grove and everything around it. OG, we've been talking about a twisted fantasy land, and it looks like that might be the jumping off point for this.
I love it. Now, our friend Gator MCO guy, he's saying he's not happy with the villain's ride system because it was going to be a boat. Now it's going to be, I guess, similar to that of like the Avengers
Infinity Defense or
right.
Peter Pan Tokyo.
What do you think about that? Are you worried about it? Do you think that lowers the ambition level? I don't necessarily think it does. Gator, I wouldn't worry too much. I think it all depends on execution. But what do you guys think?
I agree with that. I think it depends on the execution. If it flows well and it's set up properly, I don't think people are gonna have a problem with it. But if it is kind of slow or they make it go too fast, kind of like I love the Peter Pan ride at Magic Kingdom, but they make it go so fast. You wait so long in that line, and then it's just like you zip right through that ride, you know. So if it's something like that, people are probably gonna they might still enjoy it because like the Peter Pan ride's still very much enjoyable. But yeah. I hope they don't go that route. You know, as long as it's paced well and it's set up right, I think we won't have a problem.
I agree, Wicked. I agree. I mean, I've we've seen multiple examples of like the same ride system done completely differently, right? Dinosaur, Indiana Jones, Small World Pirates. I think you can do a really cool thing on the way you dress the set pieces, the lighting, the music. But what do you think, Conductor? I mean, if it's the same ride system as Avengers, are you going to be disappointed or just kind of like wait and see?
I'm going to be wait and see because, like you mentioned, it's how they execute it. Even though it'd be the same ride system, the execution is what makes the attraction great. You know, there's different variations of the same ride system they can choose from to make this unique, make this such an awesome attraction. Because I knew, we all knew that Villains Land was going to get 2 attractions. We knew that. We just didn't know they were going to a left-hand turn, and instead of doing a boat ride, they're doing this kind of, like you guys call it, Avengers Infinity Defense and Peter Pan attraction style ride system.
Yep.
Yeah, specifically the Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure type ride system from Tokyo Disney Sea's Fantasy Springs area, which, you know, I heard big things when that was actually being built and so forth. But a lot of people who have actually come off of that are kind of like mixed in terms of how well executed that was. And it does seem that Disney has heard a little bit of those complaints. The Infinity Defense attraction over at Adventures Campus does feature some large scale props like Thor's hammer, for example, like a big Black Panther sculpture and so forth. Oh, yeah. And I think Jim Shull even said that that this Magic Mirror Dark Ride attraction, it would be very, very cool to actually know what manufacturer for the ride system for this was going to be. He was alluding to Oceaneering, which I guess does facilitate the Infinity Defense type ride system technology. So it does look like he knew something. It looks like they're going in that direction. Like Jared said, Disney has been very, very specific in saying, no, this is not a boat ride. This is a dark ride. I'll also say that they're going with recontextualized versions of the villains to kind of unify them and make them consistent with the story. That should be very interesting. Jared, please, you're up.
Well, I think first, I don't know if you guys hit this or not. I actually really like that concept of the corrupted wishing well. I think that's a simple thing to do here. That's something, and people have talked about having a corrupted fantasy land. I think the simpler, the better. You don't have to overthink this. You really don't. And Disney could easily overthink this. And the fact that they're just calling it Villains Land and not, you know, the Galaxy's Edge of Villainry or something. You know, you can always see them doing these long, convoluted names where it's like everyone and their mom, like Star Wars Land. It's just Star Wars Land. Like it's Galaxy's Edge, but like that's what we're going to refer to this thing as. So I like that. I like the concept of this. I hope they don't change course here and we start getting misunderstood villains and things, because that's not what people want. So I think just going simple with this, you're talking about a very classic, it's seemingly roller coaster attraction with a dark ride. These are the things that have been pretty successful in theme parks. And so I don't think you got to rewrite, you don't have to remake the wheel on this. You keep it simple. I think if there's 2 rides in here, I'm sure there's expansion pads. I think that would be the thing people would have criticisms of, because we were hearing rumors maybe 3, maybe 4 attractions were going to be in this land. Now, I suppose there could be more, but we are getting, there's not a Cruella de Vil ride. There is a layer, is what they said. They got
yes.
Glenn Close kind of caused them some issues because she said like her own ride, and they were quickly like, no, it's a layer, which maybe that's a villain's themed lounge and things like that. I think you'll see something like that in here.
No, real
kind of cool because like Corella's got that whole like fashionista vibe. So that if they had like a bar that was like themed around her, I could get behind that. That'd be pretty cool.
And they had at Halloween, the Halloween parties in 2019, they had a Cruella hideaway extra thing. It was like I called it the Inception party. It was a party within a party, because you paid for the party ticket, then you had the Cruella thing, which I did it to review it, and it was like bar, and it was an extra thing you got. I think that may be what they do there, and I agree Cruella would be somebody you feature here and things like that. But sorry, OG, what were you saying?
I was going to say that Villains Land, if they're open to it, and it seems like they are now, Disney in these castle parks of selling alcohol. I mean, the themed cocktail possibilities are really endless. Actually, I didn't mention this in our Tomorrowland thing, but I bet you we get some sort of Space 220 or something similar like that in Tomorrowland, because they're going to want to do that as well over there. But Webcast Citizen, our buddy Mr. Webba, says, do you think it was a mistake comparing this land to Galaxy's Edge in terms of size?
100%. Don't even mention it. You just act like it's like Voldemort. You don't speak the name because it brings nothing but terror and horrible things to people, at least in ours. By the way, another rant I have, you can't get on stage and just say we're getting the Galaxy's Edge redo that Disneyland got. For like, how long do we have to suffer with this? With no music in our land?
I'm telling you.
That's depressing.
Be fair to Florida.
Be fair to Florida. Come on, we want John Williams. We want... we want Luke and Leia and Han and R2-D2.
At least. Even put the thing in there. It's coming in a few years. At least it's coming. When they didn't announce that, I was like, how does this make any sense? But I will simply say, I don't think it's the best selling point, in my opinion, to get on stage and sell your new big anticipated land, and then the words Galaxy's Edge come out of your mouth. I don't think that's a good idea. Now, I think he was referring to the size of the land, which, because they are going to be pretty similar sized.
Right.
I wouldn't be mentioning Galaxy's Edge if it was me. That's just...
Yeah. Now, Jared, you did mention you like the fact that it's just Villains Land, right? Like very simple and clean. Mm-hmm. Don't you miss the days, though, when our attractions and lands had colons in them?
Like, what do you want to go ride next? I want to go ride the Magical Adventures. You just go in this sentence long thing and just
I want the Star Wars Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you got to get the Grogu overlays. You got to put that in there as well.
Oh yes.
Why they do that?
I think they're definitely trying to make Smuggler's Run a thing, and it's just not. When that came out, the day that announced that released on Disney World, the wait for that was still 20 minutes.
Yeah,
like it didn't move the needle.
That's crazy. Real quick before we move on to like the other stuff, I just want to say too, I kind of, thanks to Mr. Webba, we were at the parks all weekend. I hit everything because I haven't been to Disneyland Resort since May. I'm a Universal guy now. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm uni now. I don't do Disney that often anymore. But
you're a Universal bro. That's what.
Yeah, I'm a Universal bro. But but I finally went on the Smuggler's Run with little Grogu. I finally got to see the pirate animatronic. I finally got to do Soarin' Across America. So it was cool. We hit everything. I was a Rise guy for like maybe 3 or 4 hours that day. So
there you go.
Cool. Yeah.
Rise is cool. I like Rise. But yeah, so I mean, Universal Bros Unite, as Real Venture says. I think that's you know what? I think that's the new term. Just pounding protein shakes, energy drinks, white monsters in there. That's the Universal Bro side of things. But no, Villains Land. I think hopefully they keep this up with this. What they look like, the direction they're going in. I like it. I do like it with that. But I want to talk about Spaceship Earth real quick.
Oh, okay.
I love Spaceship Earth. Now, Wicked, are you a Spaceship Earth fan?
I haven't been on it.
You haven't been on Spaceship Earth?
No.
Whoa.
Yes.
Well, it's not the best state currently, but it is a very classic. I love that ride. It's kind of it brings me back to when Epcot was about like learning when you were
Oh,
there.
wait a minute. Spaceship. I'm sorry. I have been on Spaceship Earth. That's the one that they're redoing now, right? I was thinking of something else. Sorry.
Are you
It's
thinking of
late
Mission
over here.
Space?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been on Spaceship Earth. I don't know how I feel about them redoing that. Because I like it.
agree.
It's the nice like chill ride, right? You relax and you just go go through
You
the
just
times,
go
right?
through and learn about history and us communicating and things. It's nice. Like it's a good, but it does need some help. It needs some TLC. And they
Yeah.
announced randomly during D23
It
that
needs a lot of help.
this was getting a redo or something. Well, we don't really know because they didn't really give us any details. They just said it's coming soon and then cut to a musical number. And I was like, hold on a second. Now,
Rewind that, please.
yeah, like yeah. Now in 2019, they were going to redo this. They had some concept art and things like that they were going to do. That obviously got scrapped. So we don't know if that's going to be what they're going back to. They did say this is going to be much more focused on connection. And one thing I will say is sometimes with Disney, I was telling Vash this earlier. What do you mean by connection? I want to know what you mean. Like when you say a refurb, when you're talking like the same thing, you're talking about some of these things. Like define for me what you think that means, because I don't think this ride needs a major overall. You don't need to redo every single scene in here. Refreshing this, maybe add an extra one or something. But
Maybe a little shine, right? Just a little,
yeah, a little shine. Make it
boosting.
the final scene up there could use some help in there and everything like that. But I would just I'm very curious as to I'm guessing 50th by the time this will be done. And they also announced Figment was going to get a redo also. That's one thing I can point to, that you're talking the 50th is in like 2032, I think, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it is.
So that's probably a realistic timeline here. And Vash, you pointed out as well, it's not really a simple thing to go in here and redo Spaceship Earth given the design of this building either.
No, not very easy at all. I mean, apparently there's like one maintenance elevator at like one of the base of the pylons right there, and that's the only way you can actually get things throughout this structure. Also, to the ride system, very complex and very difficult to actually work on itself right there. So I don't imagine any structural changes or anything like that. But you know, some of the old propping that they've had from previous versions of Spaceship Earth, like in the finale and etc., those are still there, and they're just covered because it was easier to leave them there than actually work on them, remove them, replace them, etc. So that creates questions, right? How invasive is this all going to be? How surgical is this all going to be? Are we going to see a complete rework of this, or are we going to see an update akin to what we've seen before? It looks like maybe perhaps the sequences you're actually seeing right here, which, by the way, Jared, fantastic B-roll. Thank you so much for that. These sequences right here, it looks like might get updated, right? So, you know, this is very much part of the communication aspect of this whole thesis attraction for Epcot. I do believe they're going to be modifying these scenes specifically. And we've also talked about the overlap these scenes might have with like Carousel of Progress, which is also in development, right? We talked about how like the first scene of Carousel of Progress will actually involve the moon landing and how there's overlap there with the current iteration of Spaceship Earth. So I do believe you're going to see a rework of some of those final sequences right there in order to be consistent with this. Let me see what Ali Rubenstein said. Quote unquote, human connection, quote, storyline right there. I don't quite know what that means. I'm very interested and curious to see what that means.
Very vague.
Yeah.
Very vague, right? And Ali actually talked about the blue-haired Imagineer. For all you out there, she talked about how, you know, it had been 20 years since this was updated. And Jared, to your point, one of the reasons being this is a very difficult attraction to update. They also didn't actually say who the narrator was. So before every single update to Spaceship Earth has had a new narrator, that's going to be very interesting to hear what who that is as well.
I'm voting for Anthony Hopkins.
Oh.
That would be awesome if it was him.
I love it.
Curtis.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. That was interesting too with the Carousel of Progress stuff. I was really surprised that they didn't give us any Walt animatronic news.
I was too.
Yeah. But I kind of feel that's going to be at a later date.
But that thing's opening up in 20. I mean, well, and I think that's all the conversation too about. And I will come to the only thing I was going to say. If Spaceship Earth's refurb is sponsored by TikTok, I'm going to lose it. If this is
Hey, when I heard connection, my mind went to that too. Like the end will be social media or something.
Yes, of like people now share me. I'm like, they just show somebody dancing or something. Like, I'm just gonna bring tomatoes and just start throwing it on the ride. Like, no.
Well, can I ask you guys a question? And maybe I'm just kind of being a little bit like whatever. But like, for me, when they did the voice, like Jamie Lee Curtis is the voice, and then the Breaking Bad guy, that's cool. But I don't really care. Like, honestly, like that doesn't really matter. Like, you could have got anybody to voice those characters, and it would have been fine, right? I don't know. Does that matter to you guys at all?
I don't think it really matters that much, personally speaking. I mean, Bryan Cranston. I mean, I really hope he kind of does the Walter White, like I am something like that would be kind of cool. But I don't know if he's going to do that or not. But it probably doesn't matter that much. They probably just grab celebrities just to throw them in. I mean, it's just kind of what Disney probably.
In the lore,
I mean, I guess
progress.
It could be worse.
It's kind of like a big deal. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, but it could be worse though. Ali Rubin's scene or whatever could have been doing the mother. That would have been really bad.
Oh boy!
Now listen, we get that for Spaceship Earth because Mocha Bean here says narrated by Bob Iger. That would be the worst case scenario here.
He already narrated the friggin' Walt's story or whatever. The presentation before the Walt animatronic in the Opera House. I mean, it's like, I got to listen to this guy again. It's
and
terrible.
You know how they'd introduce it? They'd go narrated by Lakers owner and Disney legend Bob Iger. That's exactly what they would do now.
Yeah, and Main Street window holder as well. It's ridiculous.
He has quite the resume, Vash, doesn't he?
I know. It's just spilled on the accolades. Oh, he has a building in New York, don't you know, OG, as well. So it's got all the things. He's got all the toys right there. No, but we're all kind of waiting for that narration, right? We're all kind of waiting for that, details regarding this specific attraction right here, because I think Jared may have mentioned it. But in 2019, that's when they originally, said that they were going to update this, and it was going to be about storytelling. I think the theme was going to be, which was pretty ambiguous, but you can kind of see how that would interact with the existing scenes. Human connection is a little bit different. So I'm kind of wondering how thorough of a refurbishment or update or reimagining this will actually be.
I would be okay with a very light one, personally. You don't have to do a lot with this. You really don't.
Like I said, just a little like sprucing, right? Just a little polish, a little shine.
Yeah, I agree.
Those video screens, maybe if you want to like keep those, I guess you can. If you want to incorporate them, yes. But the technology that actually makes them work is a little outdated. And I know they've been having problems recently, which is very, very interesting. So maybe they actually omit those, or maybe incorporate them a different way. That would be interesting. But yeah, these classic audio animatronic figures, which by the way, looks like Disney is very motivated to do something about classic audio animatronic figures in the modern era. That's a little scary, but c'est la vie. I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm kind of surprised that they would announce this before Journey into Imagination, but we know that Journey into Imagination is also going to be updated, right?
And they announced this before what I thought the biggest likelihood was a Space Mountain refurb. I mean, that's 50 years old at some point. You got to do something with it. Now, I agree with this from Lovelow 8780. Peter Cullen, I'm on board.
I would love that.
Prime in this ride. Listen, I'm in. If you guys don't know, that is the voice of Optimus Prime, and is probably the best voice ever. I would say, and there'd be like, "Welcome, freedom fighter," and you're like,
yes. I love it. Hey, you know what? I think.
Let's see.
I have a voice that I think you guys will all love to narrate.
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
There you go.
That's the villain's land. That's what happens when you go into the castle. You hear that over and over again. You're like, oh no, this is terrifying.
I'll also take Sam Elliott. He would be a good narrator.
Oh,
right there.
dude, Sam Elliott. Yes.
You need someone with a smooth voice, or like Optimus trying something very like dominating and just in your face.
Sam Elliott would be, he'd be like, get you a Coors Light when you're done. You're like, yeah. Sam Elliott, I will do I when I'm done with this. I I hope they do this justice because, and funny enough, I was kind of saying a couple weeks before this, I was like, I think they might do Spaceship Earth. Just kind of like what they've been doing around property. Then they had that show that apparently produced or they're developing off of this ride. And I was like, I wonder. And then sure enough, that's what they announced. But again, no details. And I think the one that maybe a lot of people might be more excited about is Figment, which we have literally nothing about that one. That was literally announced at the very, very end of the show. It was other than Dreamfinders coming back. But other than that, there's nothing that they announced about that one.
Can I ask you guys a question? And like, I'm curious what you guys think. Because remember they did the Blue Sky stuff. They're kind of gauging the audience's reaction to certain things. Some of these like really vague, like headliney sort of announcements, like Spaceship Earth, the Figment, Dreamfinder stuff. Do you think that that's sort of like a sneaky way of doing the Blue Sky without saying it? Like they're just putting it out there to kind of see, because they didn't have any detail on any of this stuff. It was just like throwing it out there.
At least the Blue Sky, they had concepts.
Right.
That's true. That's very true. Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting, OG. I don't know. And Conductor, maybe you can speak on this as well. The kind of reception to these things. I remember when Allie was up there and she was like, "Hey, you guys like Spaceship Earth?" And everyone was like, "Yay!" You know, like a very tepid response, because like everybody obviously in that crowd knows what Spaceship Earth is. No question about that, right? But you bringing it up suggests that you're going to modify it. And I don't know if everybody was on board for that, and maybe that's how they reacted. Did you hear any of that? The kind of tepid responses to things that you would have thought otherwise would have seen a big response?
I saw a lot of tepid all around. There were a lot of like the shticks, like the jokes and all that. Like you could just tell, like the people around us, at least, like Mr. Webb and I, they weren't feeling it. Like you can just tell it was very tepid. I think the only things that really got huge applauses was New Tomorrowland. The Yeti was crazy. But yeah, there was a lot of tepidness, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you notice that too, Conductor, when you were in there or from where you were sitting?
So from my side of the arena, it seemed like Spaceship Earth did get a response. I wouldn't say it was as big as the Yeti, but I would say it was enough of a response to kind of green light the refurb to the next stage. Not several stages, but at least the next step. I kind of feel the journey with Figment, I think that was actually louder than Spaceship Earth. But being that I went on Spaceship Earth back in March, I could not agree more. That thing needs massive help. Not just a little bit, massive help. So being that someone that's coming from the West Coast, paying all this money for a park like Epcot, kind of in that Marn type phase, and then you have the World Showcase, and being that Spaceship Earth is the icon in the park, it deserves so much better. Yeah. And the way it's left right now, horrendous shape. So,
and it's the first thing you see when you walk in too.
Exactly my point. Like, I mean, it's beautiful on the outside and rotten on the inside. That's just the way I see it. It needs help. Bad.
Yeah. Now, Wicked, are you a Figment fan?
I like the ride. I think it's cute. I didn't, grow up into the character, so it's just my introduction was recently at the parks. I know people went wild for that popcorn bucket. I didn't get my hands on one, but I think he's a cute character. I like him.
Yeah, I've never been a big Figment. I don't like the ride. I missed that boat completely. I know it's a fan thing that people love, but it's just
I like it for like the hot days because it's usually not too busy, right? I guess it depends. I mean, living here, I try to go on the less busy days altogether. But I like it for that reason. Like, it's a nice, just, okay, I'm hot. I'm going to go hang out here and like take my time walking through, like when it's over with. But it's not something I run to, right? It's like, oh, it's only a 5-minute wait. Let's just go. It's more of that. Yeah.
That's really sad because, Journey into Imagination, obviously there are some huge fans out there, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, I do agree. I think most of us have kind of missed the Journey to Imagination, Figment, the Dreamfinder kind of golden age, right? But it is kind of, and I think this is what Tom Corliss was actually saying when talking about this. There have been generations now that have no connection to the original that created that fervor in the first place, that created that enthusiasm for those characters and so forth for all that time. So the fact that they have let this languish to such a degree, well, now you have a lot of people out there saying, you know what, I'm not a big Figment fan, even though they could have possibly otherwise been. And so them going actually back in here and righting the wrongs and maybe restoring the Dream Finder and something more akin to Tony Baxter's original vision could actually be very, very cool. Because I when I went on Journey into Imagination back in 2023, I was like, ooh, this is a little bit embarrassing. And it was very tired, especially the exit portal and everything like that. A lot of this needs work. How much work that they're going to commit to it is going to be very interesting, but it needs a lot of help.
Well,
Wait,
that is
Flubber used to be in there? Like, I know they have the picture of, Robin Williams.
Yeah,
the
it
professor.
used to be in there.
See, I loved Flubber.
And I have heard, I don't remember riding the first. I did hear the first iteration of this ride was actually really cool. I never experienced
very
it
cool.
myself. But I need to go look and see what that was, if there's some footage of it. But
Yeah.
I think, even though I don't care about Figment, I think it is something like he is the park mascot in many ways. Like, okay, go in here, give him at least something. But I think the big question about this and Spaceship Earth, what are the budgets on these? Because I think that's going to be really telling of how in depth this is all going to be. Is if they have very limited budgets on these things. And I think for Spaceship Earth, that's the case. I probably feel more comfortable with that. If it's kind of a just light retouching, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Maybe Figment's more in depth because that building's older, and I think you'd have to do more work in there. But I'd be very curious about the budgets for some of these projects for sure. But I don't know if we'll ever find that out, unless Disney just, I guess, somewhat through their earnings calls, but not a ton.
Right. I think that the budgets are really going to lay out just how ambitious they're going to be, right? When you look at a Tomorrowland overhaul, back in the day, it was the company spent a pretty penny updating that back in 1967. I think, what was that, $20 million or something like that back in the day? Obviously, much different case now. But, if it's on the order of magnitude of hundreds of millions of dollars, it's like, okay, good, fantastic, perfect. What you don't want to get into is into a situation, you don't want to get into like Tomorrowland 1998, where they only had just enough budget to rip out the People Mover and replace it with an attraction that would lay dormant for 25 years. Just enough to ruin it for decades. That's going to be not so good. I don't think we're at that point in Disney history right now, but it's like for example, okay, let's look at the Journey into Imagination. There were whole sections of that ride removed forever. If you want to restore Journey into Imagination the way it was, you will have to actually add and build new track and infrastructure to complete those sequences, like the large scale 5 revolving, it was like 5 similar or duplicate show scenes on a revolving turntable that actually segmented out those Omnimover vehicles around there. It was absolutely incredible, super cool, but to restore that effect takes a lot of money. So it's kind of like, how far are they willing to go to fix or to answer fan complaints? That's going to be very telling and very interesting.
I know where they're going to get the budget for this, by the way. They're not going to spend the money on in-ground lighting. And then that's where the budget's coming from.
Exactly. That's where they're saving
go.
probably tens of 20s there.
tens of $20.
Exactly.
Before we get going any further, I know Wicked has an out here, so we're gonna let her get out of here. We don't want to keep too much of her time. It's getting late out here on us East Coasters, but
we're getting sleepy.
It's getting sleepy time. But thank you for being here, Wicked. We definitely appreciate it. Where can everybody find you out there if they're not subscribed or anything of that nature over on your end of the woods?
Thanks for having me on. I'm so glad I can finally make a live. I know I've done a couple of the recorded videos with you guys, so this was really, really fun. I'd love to come back sometime. But yeah, you can find me Wicked Virtue everywhere on X, on Instagram. I have a Patreon. I have a link tree with all my links. So if you find one of my social medias, you'll find all of my links in the descriptions.
There she is.
And you're welcome back anytime. Anytime you want to come back on here and talk, just let us know. And
I'd love to.
We'll wrap you on here. But yeah, thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your evening. And we're just going to continue ranting about D23 probably, and good or bad.
Right. Well, have fun. Thanks again for having me on. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Wicked.
See you, Wicked.
Bye.
Before we pick up further, we do have some super chats we need to get to, and we'll call a timeout. Timeout real quick. So we have a Steve Mammon 5595 with 10 jewels. It says hiding. I don't know. Do certain jewels have certain things that are associated with them? I don't really know.
I'm not sure.
I think it maybe does. I'm not really sure. Then we have Juliet with a 5 sterling pound. Says morning simulcast, Vash Sky Parkcast, Captain Magic, Orange Grove 55, Skyliners, Skywatchers, and chat.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. And then we have Sailor Slayer for a $9.99. Thank you very much. Says all those amazing things we may get have a huge hurdle. The actual budget, because everything they do seems to run into the fact that they run out of money. We never forget what they show,
and that could be also the feet dragging when it comes to Pandora. Spread this out over 37 quarters.
Right.
Yeah. Because here's the thing: if James Cameron is still involved in this project, his taste is very expensive. And they're not going to be able to like do what they usually do, like with the Coco thing, and like James is going to make sure they're going to spend a lot of money, right? And so that is, I'm sure, a huge sticking point for them with this whole Pandora thing as well. One more thing, right? But absolutely, you're absolutely right, Sailor. 100%.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. And then another Sailor again for $4.99 says, as a West Coaster, we deserve better than an Avatar land.
Oh, how dare you! I was on her side.
Burn on you.
I was like, "Whoa, okay."
OG's like, we're friends and allied, and then the next one's just like, no, OG. I mean, we'll see. I do think, like I said, I can see both sides of it, and having seen our Pandora, and it was a cool land, but I can totally see why all the question marks around that, why they might be a little bit hesitant, or like you said, they're just going to spread this out over an 8-year period to make it work and go that route. You never know. Let's see. We got a 5 here from Rock Blazer 12. Thank you very much. Says my vote for a new Spaceship Earth narrator will forever be Matt Berry.
Okay.
Who's Matt Berry? I don't know who
Matt Berry. Let me see here.
Vash is going to Google that because I don't know.
Vash probably has B-roll on Matt Berry.
Exactly. I know, right? You would think. Yeah,
Matt Berry went to the grocery store.
I've looked at Matt Berry. I cannot recognize Matt Berry, so I do apologize. Man, we must have a hole here. I do.
Well, Rock Blazer, you don't have to super chat. Just if you're still here, let us know in the chat who that is.
Please.
Absolutely.
I listen, but just hearing that, I'm just against it. Just by default. We'll just put it that way.
There you go.
You got to win me over with an argument that I understand. We also have a 10 from Ill Magic. What's up, Ill Magic? Says, hey guys, how's it going? How do you guys feel about the Yeti coming back? I've never actually seen the Yeti because the first time I saw it, they had a shadow projection of it jumping around roaring. I think we'll get to that one because that one's also interesting, but I think it just kind of goes into this fan service. Although, and Bash and I were talking about this, I think that's a rather pretty in-depth undertaking to go in there and do that, according to what Joe Rohde has said in the past. That you kind of have to go in there and like foundations of that mountain to get to where the Yeti is, which is why it's been broken for 20 years, presumably.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very in-depth procedure right there. It's, and maybe something that actually mandates that specific coaster close for an extended period of time. And it's something where Animal Kingdom could not take the loss of Expedition Everest for all that time. It's kind of like Radiator Springs Racers at Disney Comfort Adventure. You can't not have that ride because at a certain point it actually affects how much you can actually charge for that park in general, because there's just not that much else on offer. So for Expedition Everest, I think Alan from All-Minded Coasters was saying he'd be very surprised, shocked if it went over 6 months in terms of downtime. And I think that is correct, at least from an operations standpoint, but it's all going to be it's all going to come down to how much work actually has to be done in order to restore this animated figure.
That, and I think it probably, if I were to guess, they're not going to even attempt it until after Tropical Americas is done. Because if it does have to go down, at least you've got at least 2 new attractions in there. You're subbing out one while you're getting it fixed. That would be my guess.
Yeah,
how that work.
It makes sense, because you would have to think they're going to rip into the mountain. They're going to fix the foundation. They're probably going to replace the animatronic, put a newer animatronic in there, because that thing's been sitting there, like you guys said, for 20 plus years. It's probably all decayed inside. So that might be it's a lot more work than people think it is.
Yeah,
that could be a rough undertaking with that animatronics in there. We also have a 10 here from Cliff Flicks. What is up, Cliff? It says, I was the last official guest to ever ride Journey into Imagination. They let me right in the last car in the very last train, and I got a group cast member clap when it was over, and I returned.
Love it.
That's cool.
Nice.
That is cool. Did they give you a cool button or something? I feel like you should have bragging rights for that.
That's kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Great. That is awesome. And then we also have another $4.99 from Sailor Slayer. I think Disneyland needs another child-friendly land. Disney is supposed to be for families and kids.
Okay, here's where I'm going to push back a little bit. I think when it comes to DCA though, because I think they're referring to the Pandora stuff. I think when it comes to DCA though, the reason why you have multiple parks is so you can do different kinds of stuff. So I want a lot of the stuff in DCA. I want it to be stuff that you wouldn't necessarily find at a Disneyland. So I'm okay with DCA being a little more adult, in my opinion. Everyone's different though, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in my opinion, the secondary gates are there to do different stuff. If they're all going to do the same thing, then why have them?
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that, OG, because when they removed Bugs Land, and I understand it was nobody's favorite, but some people are really attached to it, and I'm not disgracing any of the Bugs Land fans out there. It's just, obviously it had to go for Marvel. At the time that Eastern Gateway got canceled, it was like, we got to put it somewhere. We're gonna put it. It's gonna take the place of a Bugs Land. When that was ripped out, there was really not a lot of places for families with small children to go, which is why Monsters Inc., the Michael Sully to the Rescue attraction, is now 45 plus minutes, hour and a half line times, because it was never that way before, and it's that way now because there's just not a lot of things for families to do in DCA. So I do agree, DCA probably, you should have a mixture of adult experiences, but because you have so many families who actually do travel across the Esplanade to go to something like Cars Land, there should be at least a couple of things for families to do.
So what you're saying is we're not going to get the X-Men experience.
I don't think so. Like Deadpool and all of that, I don't think so.
Not getting the Wolverine experience over there anytime soon. And then we also have, I like this name, Theme Park and Things. I like that.
I love that.
With 2 jewels and it's a silver star. So
he gifted that to myself. So
there you go.
Very much appreciated.
Are you going to wear the jewels now? Do you have
maybe. I'll have to figure out. I'll get some Kirkland brand necklace to get those jewels on there or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
After Mardi Gras at Universal, you always get
there you go.
Just walk around the big old. I told my wife last time, I was like, "What do you think about just a bunch of gold chains?" She's like, "No, don't do that."
Oh my God!
I think it could work.
There was a question from Remy D, so I do want to answer this real quick. I know we kind of talked about it. He says, "What does conductor think about Tomorrowland or Avatar?" I know OG's team Avatar.
That's fine. No,
I understand that.
Fight.
No, I'm too friendly for that. Tomorrowland for me would be maybe a safer bet. Maybe. I'm just saying maybe. because by the time they finish the Eastern Gateway, get that open, that's going to be about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. Then you're talking about closing off the Hollywood backlot, ripping down those buildings, which is probably another 6 months to a year. So now you're already 3 years behind on Avatar, which could give 3 years to Tomorrowland, which all those buildings they want to rip out could be ripped out. Maybe they could start constructing new ones in that time frame. That's just my thought process. But I would be okay if they want to build both simultaneously.
Well, and that's what we're hearing, right? Scott Gustin actually has a Substack out right now saying that that's what they're planning on doing. Now, the issue is that a lot of fans don't trust what Disney says. That's the problem.
That is one issue.
Yeah. So the plan of the official plan is that, yes, they are going to do both simultaneously, but Avatar will be dragged out over 37 quarters and Tomorrowland will be fast tracked. So Tomorrowland will open sooner. We'll see. I hope that's right. I really do hope that's correct. I really do. I think that would be great for both parks, but we'll see. Showcase says no Family Guy at DCA then. So
no Family Guy. Sorry.
That would be kind of funny, Family Guy in DCA. I would laugh pretty hard at that.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Oh my God. To be fair, though, I think because me and OG kind of explored this as kind of a blue sky session on one of our videos we did together, we said, what if the third gate in the Toy Story parking lot became like a Fox property park? You could incorporate Family Guy into that.
Now, here's the question. Do you guys think that they know the extent, let's say both Tomorrowlands, do you think they know the extent at this point until they really dig into it, what is going to be required? Because I kind of wonder if they actually aren't even really sure.
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
I think personally for me, I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the updates happen at Magic Kingdom, because a lot of theirs they can handle without doing massive deconstruction and rebuilding. I think for our Tomorrowland, the fact that they announced it or they at least teased it towards the end of the parks panel, it makes me wonder, and I gotta talk to Bricky because Bricky he has the inside information somehow in some way, but I kind of feel like they would have not teased that if they're not ready and they don't like it. Trying to figure out the perfect way to say this, or the way I could say it. They would not announce it if they're not ready to dig in and get their hands dirty on how much deconstruction needs to happen, how much underground they need to fix in order to bring this new version of Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Can I bring something on the screen real quick, because this is actually related to Tomorrowland, and I brought this up to you, Vash, earlier today, and I kind of want to pick your guys' brain on this. Sure. So this was actually a tweet from Scott Gustin the other day, right? Yes. And he was saying that they're enabling work in the Esplanade will begin next week, and they're going to have this official groundbreaking. Mondo from Five Fires has been kind of going over the artwork. If you guys see here, there's a lot. This is not the Tomorrowland we currently have. No. This is weird, like these weird coverings and buildings that are in places that we don't have out here currently. The other weird thing, and maybe this is my OCD, my over analytical brain, the Matterhorn's in the wrong spot. So are they planning on moving? Because look, the Matterhorn does have issues. They've been band-aiding this thing for I don't know how long. The Matterhorn is not, that is not where the Matterhorn currently sits.
No.
So what do you guys think? I'm curious.
Now, the only thing I will say about that, I don't know anything about Disneyland, but when they came out with that the initial Cars Land concept art, they actually had, I believe it was Disneyland Paris's Frontierland as the surrounding area, and they didn't have Magic Kingdoms. So sometimes they do concept art. They don't kind of really know exactly what they're using sometimes, but I don't know Disneyland, so but I'll just bring that up as an example of sometimes the concept art's a little misleading on some of the things they do.
I do want to say before Vash, you talk on this, I do want to say that I do find it interesting because when you do look at it, it looks more to the right towards the lagoon, towards Autopia, because we've heard nonstop and I mean nonstop, that the Matterhorn, just the foundation of when they originally built it, it's been decaying over time. It's been falling apart. They've had to close it a lot more in the last few years, quite often per year, more than they probably wanted to. There's been issues with the fountain that faces Cinderella's castle.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. I'm sorry, I get those two confused.
Whoops.
Beauties. Yeah, I know. You can hate me later.
Your castle's right, bro. What's up? I'm just kidding.
And conductor, didn't you go to the DCA Princess thing the other day? Come on, man.
Oh, you mean when I was so far back I couldn't see nothing, and then on top of that, I had three elderly ladies fall, get trampled, and then a fight almost broke out before they started letting people. Yeah, I was there. But the Matterhorn, where it sits, though, it looks bigger. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. It looks bigger and it looks more to the right, so it almost looks like they rebuilt it.
It kind of does. It looks interesting. Go ahead, Vash. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Right. So I re-examined that concept art that Scott Houston posted today, and that originated from the Disney Parks blog post, I believe, last year. And I went through an image history of all the reposts and everything else. And it does look like that art has been consistent throughout the years that it has been available. So that's one. Two, this is the Google Maps 3D view from a similar angle, and you can kind of see where the Matterhorn and Sleeping Beauty Castle and Space Mountain resides in this.
Yeah.
Like, I think there may have been some AI usage there. I'm not sure. It kind of predated the AI generated boom back in the day, but there might have been some AI interpretation there. There might have been some hallucinations there. Yeah. Everything looks pretty much the way it should when comparing the two. Yeah. So it's, distances and everything else. Obviously, this isn't perfect. We would much rather want to have like a photograph from this area, sure. But you can kind of see what it looks like. It's roughly, I think, okay. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that Matterhorn stays untouched in all of this. And it might be one of those things where, hey, you know what? We're going to affect large portions of Tomorrowland. And one of the things we're going to finally do something about is the Matterhorn situation. Obviously, it's kind of surrounded on all sides by right now. But if you remove maybe the spaghetti bowl of monorail tracks back there and people mover tracks and Autopia and submarine voyage, that area beyond it and the motorboat cruise opens up considerably. Maybe for things to be built on, maybe for the original structure to be raised and rebuilt. I'm not sure, but you can surmise that with this work, I would imagine that Disneyland managers, especially if Joe Ostorino is heavily involved in this, would want to overcome all issues for the resort's future.
Yes, and Kyle here says they would never touch the Matterhorn as long as Bob Gurr is alive. Well, see, I would actually have the opposite opinion. If they're ever going to touch it, it should be when Bob Gurr is alive, so he can help with the design and have input on it. That's kind of my take on it.
But apparently he has input on Carousel of Progress right now, which I thought was interesting.
I love that. And then Showcase of Wishes here says they're going to make the castle bigger at Disneyland and include all princesses. And you know what I think they should also do, Showcase, is have lightsaber turrets. You got to include all the IP. You can't just have princesses, I
was going to say also, Remy's calling out Conductor. It moved on me. Remy D says only true nerds know which castle's which.
Uh-oh.
I made a slip up, and you're going to hold it to me to my grave. Okay.
The freaking internet just never lets it go.
How can you forgive Diz Twitter?
There's no forgiveness on Diz Twitter. They're very unforgiving bunch over there.
There is no drama on Diz Twitter, Jared. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Diz Twitter is overrated. It's the perfect Sunday school behavior all the way through.
You know, the outsider looking in probably like, I bet a pretty calm bunch is like a theme park bunch, and you get in there, they're like, oh my gosh, this is insane. These people just going here. Before we get, we're almost at 2 hours. Before we get out of here, though, I do want to get your thoughts because I had some thoughts on the Cars land in Magic Kingdom. Okay. Now, this is one out of anyone they're doing. This is, I would say, for sure the most controversial, given this replaced the Rivers of America. And that alone has a lot of people being like, you know, what's the deal? For me personally, I like the stuff that they showed with this. I think now I'm of two minds of this. I think the land that they're showing here, the developing, the rides, you know, whatever you think of the Miss Fritters. I mean, you get something in there for kids. Like, that's not going to be the most mind-bending stuff. Like, okay, the racing thing looks like it could be pretty cool. I love a national park land. I'm still, though, to the point, though, where I just don't know how this fits into Frontierland. I don't, like, you're talking like a national park land, great, but the minute you put googly-eyed cartoon cars just racing around Frontierland, I'm like, I think we're just at this point where it's like, and I was telling Vash this as well, it's like, this is just what you're going to get here. Is this going to make money? Doesn't make sense. We'll make tangentially, they'll probably make some storylines where it makes some sense, but ultimately speaking, this is because there's money, it's merchandise, and we're going to throw you bones for other things like a Figment redo, like a Spaceship Earth redo. Like, we're going to do other things that make you happy while we do this as kind of like a, you know, the sub, like, we're sorry, like about the Rivers. Like, you know, hey, guys, we're sorry. Here's this, here's that. But the land itself, I think, does look really good.
It does.
Yeah.
Go ahead, OG. Please.
Well, no, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It's, you know, the thing too is I think what they're doing, and I think Vash, I think you brought this up on the show that you did with Jared, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. They aren't trying to tie this attraction into Frontierland. They're going to change the land.
Yes,
the theme of this
exactly what they're going to do.
Totally different direction. It's going to be more like not exploration, but kind of like exploring new frontiers.
Almost like maybe like just the wilderness in general is what they might go with, or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, conductor. Sorry for cutting you off, bro.
No, it's all good. The thing is, seeing this on the showroom floor, this was available day one on Friday. Looking at this thing, it looks so big, or bigger than we all think it is. So it begs the question, because we kind of talked about, I think it was the last theme park that I was part of, that it was going to be about 4 acres. But after looking at this model in the showroom floor, it's hard to believe that's 4 acres, because look how detailed it is. It has 2 attractions. It has multiple buildings. The e-ticket is huge. It goes pretty much all around the entire land. I think that's a restaurant or some type of gift shop. The buildings are massive. It's just, I think this model, and I could be wrong, it does pay homage in some way or somehow to Rivers of America. And I know that's hard to believe, but looking at it in person, it kind of does. Maybe I'm just not seeing it properly, but that's what it kind of looked like to me. And others.
The land to me looks very DCA, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because we have Grizzly Peak and we have Cars Land, and this is like the love child of both of those lands.
It's like a mismatch of those between together. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm fine with that. Now, Showcase says the second attraction looks weak. I do agree with him. Beside being weak, though, it's kind of obnoxious.
The thing is, if you're going to do a Cars Land, you're going to have something for the kids. And I think kids attractions.
They did that.
You know, I don't know about Miss Fritter. I'm sure they're using Miss Fritter because of the mud aspect of all this and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think somebody pointed out, I think this is close to like 4.8 acres, I think is what the size of this is, which compared to Villains Land's not that big, because Villains Land's like 14. But
no,
I think now, if you want to talk about potential influence from Epic Universe, I think how this ride goes all throughout this land, very reminiscent of Isle of Berk, with Hiccup's wing gliders goes through all that land. So I like that. It gives a lot of kinetic energy. And Vash, you brought up as well, Are all these trees going to be present on opening day?
Yeah, that's the big question that I have, because it's very tree heavy. It's very tree reliant. In fact, there's a shot in this roll here of a treeless version of this, and there's not a lot there. So I kind of wonder. It's like, okay, well,
here, just like, what is this?
You know, OG, you'll remember that when the Golden State area of DCA, or the Grizzly Peak area as it's now known today, was new, those trees were very, very young, and it didn't quite give you the reception that it does today. I do wonder if, in fact, they're going to ship in a lot of these old growth trees. I've heard rumblings of, well, they saved a whole bunch of stuff that they removed. I didn't see that, and I don't see where those trees went. So, you know, you're going to have to acquire much foliage in order to complete this look, which I'm sure they will. It's just at what age will those be? Because we've known from new projects coming out of both companies, like Disney and Universal, and maybe some of the others, that usually that stuff is very young, and it takes a while for those things to grow in. So are we looking at this land in its state when it opens, or are we looking at it 20 years from now, which is going to be a very interesting question to see here. The second ride, yeah, I mean, it doesn't quite surprise me that they went with something that was a little bit more akin to Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. In fact, I think they're using the exact same ride system that you actually see at Four Wheel Rally over there at Disney Adventure World, currently in use right now. It doesn't shock me, especially given, you know, the space that they had to work with. This is also one of the reasons why, you know, the exterior is bound by this big e-ticket around there. It's because it's like we have like no other way to get ride time out of this. So we kind of have to use the perimeter to our advantage. The other thing too is that Bruce Vaughn actually came. There was a video posted, I believe, by ABC, talking about featuring Bruce Vaughn talking about this Piston Peak area, and he is saying, like, brand new ride system. He is saying you're going to feel every single bump around the road, and that when you actually get on the ice, let's say, of the icy peaks up there, that you are going to skid and drift. Consistent with that topology. So it's very interesting what they're saying here.
No, I love it. Well, actually, when they were describing Vash, when you go up the hill, but then you're going to descend the hill, and he said that, right? Like, you're going to feel the bumps as you go down. That was really cool. I like that. I like that a lot. And I didn't hear the drifting thing, but that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either, but it was in the context of this newly released interview that he said that. That was very, very cool. So I imagine that remember the name for this stupid thing. Like, it's like Road Rally. Yeah. It's like, what is it again? It's like,
oh, is that the name of the main ride?
Yes,
it's like Cars Ridge Rally Racers, I think. Or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's like Ridge Rally. There's no racers, which is very, very important, because in the earlier pieces,
Ridge Run Rally.
Say it 3 times. Hopefully it sticks. The thing about Ridge Run Rally that's very interesting is that there's no race portion to it, not just in these concept images, but also in the name itself. I think it's very distinct because initially, right, I think, Jared, we had heard that Lightning McQueen and Tomato were going to be part of Race Day, but this isn't quite a race. And that earlier image of of this concept being, you know, both cars side by side and racing looks like that was axed in order to, you know, because of the constraints of the area.
And let's be honest, when this thing opens, people are going to say, let's go on the Cars ride, you know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And that's where they were smart with Villains Land, where they kept it simple.
Which I would think they would have done that with this one too.
Yeah.
Just keeping it simple with the land. But, and like I said, when we were talking to Vash about this, it's like, I'm just of two minds from a theme park nerd perspective, and in it fitting into Frontierland. And, you know, I do think Frontierland is going to end up changing, which I don't necessarily like that, but obviously, like, we're so far down the road now, there's probably not any going back at this point. But at the same time, my son's going to love this land. He loves cars. Yeah. The kids are going to go in here and have a blast with this. And, you know, are the trees really going to fill in like that? That's going to be an interesting thing about this. Over time, it'll be fine. So I think, you know, the way I look at this, Yeah, and like I hope I'm proven wrong on this and that this does fit and that this wows me so much. It's just like, okay, I get why they did this. It's just at this point, I like the land. I have questions about how this fits into everything else in here. But I will say one thing that they did say that it made me feel much more comfortable is they did say on that stage that Liberty Square is safe. And I think that was a big speculation point that this was all going to change the whole area. So by them saying that, it's like, okay, you know, maybe this doesn't mean all this whole entire area is going to be gutted. Now, maybe it's not safe forever. Maybe it's just now, but them going out of the way of saying that, I do think also points to a change and like tomorrow, I think is much more aware of what the rhetoric is around these parks than Bob Iger ever was. And obviously, I think we saw that from a lot of these announcements that were some fan service announcements of fixing the Yeti that's been broken for 20 years. Tomorrowland has been needing work for 20 some odd years. Like they're going in and doing some things that are just easy wins. And some of it also could be how this was received, because of all the ways you could have broke that, you know, this was going to replace the Rivers of America, probably the worst way you could have done it is in which they did it, which was the following Monday, like, by the way, guys, and not getting on stage and saying it. I think that really set a lot of people, it just set with them the wrong way. And so now you're seeing this kind of like, okay, let's go in here and like give the fans some things that they want. And then it's your job at this point to wow us with this land, to justify removing an opening day aspect, you know, Rivers of America. I hope they're able to do that. I like how this looks. It looks promising. We'll see if they have any more contextualization around how this fits into Tomorrowland, what else they do with it. But that's just kind of where I'm sitting with it. So I can see, you know, I even told my wife, like, I could go in here and be like, this was fantastic land. I still don't know how it fits in Frontierland. Like, because I think you put this anywhere else in Magic Kingdom almost, I don't think there's really much of an issue. It's just here is the thing. You're like, I don't know.
Well, Jared, think about it this way, right? Think about it this way. If it doesn't work out with this, they can make it Avatar. So
You can see on your screen there, it's a treeless Piston Peak right there. You can kind of see how much it relies on that foliage in order to provide for that that amazing
and that looks like
look
a
of all
barren
that
farm almost without it. Crazy.
But he can get me a village. That's awesome.
For $100. Oh my goodness. Hidden Geek Village says, I love this land. I think when it's all said and done, this and Dylan's Land will be good for business and great new memories for children. I love the river in Disneyland, but the truth is Magic Kingdom guests did not appreciate the Rivers of America enough.
So, first of all, go ahead. No, please.
I was just going to say, the one in Disneyland is, you guys have fantastic. Is it Fantasmic that's on your guys' river?
We have Fantasmic.
Yeah. So there's a thing that there's something to go see. It's monetized. So like that, your guys doesn't go anywhere for that reason. When you say you don't appreciate it, it's not supposed to. I think I've always said the entire time we're talking about this subject. To me, this is the difference between a theme park and a theme park is supposed to create a setting and create more emotion about areas and have areas of your park that have served the purpose of relaxation, of like open water and things. So I think this is my whole point of this always was, I'm not saying that there were flocks of people going to Rivers of America, but it never was the point of Rivers of America either. You were kind of taking an area of this park that was supposed to be more relaxing and serene and set a tone that really benefited Haunted Mansion. It benefited Big Thunder. Like it a lot of things around it benefited from the rivers there. So I have no doubt that this is going to be successful for them. I would just push back on the not appreciating it enough, because I don't understand really what you would be doing to appreciate it when it's just an area you're supposed to just sort of, you're supposed to just experience. It's supposed to be like tangentially part of the entire experience of that land.
Well,
a vibe.
Yes, very much a vibe. But that cast member over here at Disneyland a few weeks back definitely was appreciating it when they jumped in.
They did appreciate it.
They were soaking in those vibes, Jared, soaking it in.
They're just like, I am not going to let this be known. I'm not appreciating these rivers and jumping in.
That's true. And that's the thing. To Hidden Geek Village's point here, even if they your definition of appreciation, right? I think is very important here, because if it's just attending these spaces or being on Liberty Bell and so forth, yes, that I would say is appreciation for sure. But remember, Jeff Valley, that may have not been his interpretation of appreciation, right? He's thinking monetization. He's thinking return on investment. And for all of the appreciation that a place like Tom Sawyer's Island may have enjoyed, and Liberty Bell and everywhere else, it couldn't be monetized in the same way that this, what you're seeing in front of you, will be able to be. And that's what was paramount concern for the Walt Disney Company and for the managers working Walt Disney World. Villains Land and Piston Peak will allow them to monetize these spaces in a way they never would have enjoyed otherwise.
Now, I do want to say, Conductor, this, I think Hidden Geek donated that to your channel. So go ahead.
Yeah. I want to give a big shout out to Hidden Geek Village. He has been a huge supporter of my channel.
Absolutely.
Your guys' channel as well.
Absolutely.
So I think
shout out Hidden Geek Village.
A awesome thing, to be honest with you. And I couldn't agree with them more. Like, I mean, I kind of always felt that our Rivers of America, it has history tied to it. Like, I mean, you have Phantasmic, you have the Mark Twain going by, the Columbia going by, you had Walt on that island for parties and stuff. And when you look at Magic Kingdom's Rivers of America, I kind of feel that there wasn't that history behind it. It was just a bunch of nostalgia from fans that didn't want to see it go, because I'm sure it looked beautiful, and I'm not dissing it at all. But in order to make way for, if I had to put it in context, to make way for two massive lands, especially Villains Land, I think it was appropriate. Maybe not Piston Peak, but for Villains Land, I think it was more than appropriate. So I want to give a big shout out to Hidden Geek Village for that very generous donation.
I don't know if I agree with it. I just, Walt Disney World enjoys something that Disneyland could never, and that is the blessing of size. You can't tell me that you have twice the size of the area of Manhattan and say, you know what, Rivers of America, we're going to throw it out. It's kind of like, come on, guys. You could have incorporated this in a way that was maybe very similar to how even Disneyland incorporated this, or in various parks and various peripheries. It is expansion by spreadsheet. Don't like it, but that's what happened.
But this is the thing, Vash. This is the thing. The blessing of size doesn't guarantee that they're going to be fair to Florida. I just want to say that. Go ahead,
No. And you're not wrong, Vash. My thing is, when you look at Tomorrowland, for example, with that whole conversation, I hate to keep going back there because I don't want to make this whole live stream about Tomorrowland. But I kind of feel like the Disney company now, especially with Josh at the helm, they're looking at what can we look at to get rid of that is going to cost or save us money in the long run, but bring better experiences in the future. Because if you look at both Tom Sawyer's Island, when you guys had it out there in the Magic Kingdom, and we have it out here in Disneyland, both Tom Sawyer's Islands are in a depressive state. Like, I mean, more than half of the interactive stuff is broken, continues to be broken, won't work, falling apart. It's just there were things I've even heard, and we've had the same issues with our Rivers of America, that they've had to drain it because there were leaks, there were all sorts of things. I think why they didn't get rid of our Rivers of America, not just because of the nostalgia, the history behind it all, but the fact that that body of water serves a bigger purpose for the Disneyland Resort for other water areas of the park. Being that Magic Kingdom, as far as I know, because I'm not an expert, so I'm just saying this out of my own opinion. Your guys' Rivers of America did not serve the same purpose as it does at Disneyland. That's why their decision was a lot easier to get rid of the Magic Kingdom's version than Disneyland's.
Well,
yeah,
I think
That's true.
a different purpose than Disneyland's. Now, is it monetized? Was it monetized? No, it was not. But I will contend Haunted Mansion is going to seem very different after this thing. So is Big Thunder Mountain. It provided an ambiance, and there is something to be said about peaceful, serene waterways in a theme park that is supposed to bring, you're supposed to escape what the real world is in a theme park. Ideally, that's kind of the idea here, to whisk you away to a place. And I think it served that well. Now, they could have done things to monetize it if they wanted to, but obviously I think it really came down to, like Vash said, it was just a money thing is why they did it. But I think if there was a will, there was at the time you had Eddie Soto, R.I.P. Eddie Soto. I know he passed away. I loved Eddie. They had various plans where they could have kept aspects of this and still made all this work. And you can even expand further. There's a thing that this is what makes people at Disney World so frustrated is the replacements is you have space that they just typically don't want to use. And so I think if there was a will, there could have been a way. But obviously Jeff Valley hates water, which I kind of wonder if the in-ground lighting is the water's revenge on Jeff Valley. Because they're like, oh, yeah, take up the thing. Here, take this. Your lights are done. So it's like, I feel like there was a balance that could have been struck. But I think this is also a different tone we're seeing with maybe Disney right now versus what it was under Iger a little bit, which is how it was under Iger was like, this is what we're doing. We're not even going to have closing merch. They had closing merch for Supercharged, for God's sakes, and Rivers of America. And so not only did you close it, you had such short notice, and then it was just like, we're going to act like we're going to wipe our hands of this and walk away. And it's like not the understanding of this did mean something to people. And it doesn't mean that it stops your plans, but at least you can acknowledge where people are coming from. And it just seemed very tone deaf and like, we don't care, we're doing this. And I kind of think like maybe this new attitude is a little bit more of like, we're going to try and meet you halfway. We're still going to do what we think is best, but we're going to try and at least appease you and understand where you're coming from as a fan. And I think that's probably what made a lot of people upset was not only the decision to remove it, but how they removed it. And also, we're yanking it. And then you're just, if you guys, and then you had, obviously people are going to fight online, but I don't think that helped anything either and how people felt about the management at the time.
I'll say this too. Like, when you look at Fort Langhorne, as opposed to the previous Fort Wilderness, like Fort Wilderness is just a dressing space for the performers for Fantasmic now at Disneyland versus at Magic Kingdom. Fort Langhorne was very detailed. It had multiple exhibits in there. You had a very complex system of caves that we never enjoyed here at Disneyland. And the river complemented the stories of, I would say, a 1776 Boston, Massachusetts, a kind of 1850s Utah in Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and all of those stories around there. And this is why they had to recontextualize all of Frontierland, because this just does not fit within that previous rubric. So they wanted to mitigate costs going forward. That's what they wanted to do with Rivers of America, right. and that's why it had to go. And on the flip side, right, anytime you meaningfully expand a theme park, you also had to expand its accompanying infrastructure. So if you can actually expand I should say replace items rather than just expand, then guess what? Your eateries don't get overwhelmed by new attendants, now do they? Your transportation systems that transport you across Seven Seas Lagoon don't get overwhelmed, now do they? Those are the reasons why we haven't seen aggressive expansion in the existing theme parks out there in Walt Disney World. They are expanding, adding, and replacing by spreadsheet. Again, I'm not a fan of it, but that's what they're doing.
Hey Vash, and you can probably vouch for me on this one too, and what can conductor, you as well. Disneyland Resort, it's like a master class at fitting things into this resort. I will say that is one thing what we do out here that is really unmatched.
We don't replace. We just don't. We expand. And one of the reasons is because it's a volume-driven business. Versus Walt Disney World, that business model is entirely different.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I want to give a big shout out to Hidden Geek Village, by the way. Thank you so much, Hidden Geek, for all your support.
I went out there. I appreciate that. We will get to the super chats here, and really, ultimately, too, it's one of those conversations like it's done. We can give our thoughts on it, and I'm hoping from what and I will say this, I was very critical and have been of Bob Iger for years. I didn't like the attitude. I didn't like the not willing to take fault for anything, spin, all this stuff. And I will say with Josh tomorrow in charge, nobody's going to be perfect. There's lots of question marks still about him. But I will say I did like what seems like a different attitude from the company, even from the earnings calls, from this D23. I think that is a move in a positive direction for a fan base. And I think maybe you got some people that care about that a little bit more. And like you said, OG, you can go too far listening to fans. Yep. But I think that's a mistake worth making, is going too far listening to fans sometimes. I think I would rather have that mistake than just like, listen, guys, Jeff hates water and we want to make money. Let's just do this thing. So like, I feel like you can have a middle ground. You can get a balance to this. You're never going to get it perfect. But maybe this is, they're not going to come out and say that, but maybe some of this is, hey, we're going to try and make it up to you guys, given that maybe Josh felt the entire time and he couldn't say anything publicly that this wasn't handled correctly. And maybe this is his way of kind of trying to right a wrong there that he felt was at that time not handled correctly. Who knows?
Well said, Jared. Well said. And yeah, you're right. Like, you can go definitely in both direction, with the extremes. And hopefully, and I hope I'm proven wrong. Hopefully they don't like over listen to fans, and they do take risks and do things that fans don't necessarily ask for, because I think that's important. But like, to be fair, like, let's see, they might do like stuff where they hear us out, and they might also do stuff that might be a little more controversial. And I hope that's the case. I think that's healthy, so I think we do need a little bit of a balance here. But you're right. The last, I hate to say administration, because it makes it sound so governmenty, right? But like, but the last administration didn't seem to be as willing to do that. Right. So I think it's a good thing to at least we have an ear. Right. And that's why I've been saying, if, this whole time when it comes to like these projects, especially right now, it's good to be vocal, have those opinions, share them on social media, because it seems like right now Disney is really listening. So if you want something or you don't want something, say it.
Well, it's really funny you mentioned that, OG. It's hilarious, because I think it was Remy D who asked in the chat, did I ask an Imagineer in the Imagineering Pavilion a question? And yes, I did. So I asked the Imagineer, I forgot the person's name, and I'm horrible with names. I've always been horrible with names, unless I see you day in, day out. But I asked the Imagineer, I said, okay, with Avatar, because we were standing right in front of the Avatar model. I said, with this model, I'm actually surprised that you guys didn't bring it up during the showcase, like at the Honda Center, because this was Sunday morning.
Okay.
So I brought this up and I said, where's this other half of Avatar? Because there's still a lot of questions on how this is going to fit. What's the layout going to be? We only have one half of the model.
Right.
I asked the Imagineer as well. I said, where is the entrance point going to go? And obviously he wouldn't tell me that, but he's all like, the other half of the model we are still working on. It's not 100% complete, but they didn't want to bring the other side of the model out, or the other half of the model, because it's at the beginning stages of what the model looked like for Avatar 2 years ago and what hatred it got from that. So they said it's going to be coming. They don't know when. They might take photos and put it on social media. They have no idea. He just assured me, or at least told me, it is coming. It's not out of the realm.
Yeah, and that's what we're hearing, right? And that's what we're hearing. Scott Gustin confirmed that as well, that it is coming, and it's just not going to come right after Coco. It's going to come after New Tomorrowland. And we had Theme Park. We did a live show with Theme Park Wizard the other day, right? And he was saying that he talked to Scott Gustin at the expo, and Scott Gustin told him that they're still going to close Monsters Inc. at the same time and all that stuff, and they're still going to start prep work for this stuff. It's just going to be spread out over 37 quarters. That's it. So,
well, to be fair, real quick, Showcase of Wishes. I did ask the second question. I was lucky to ask a second question, so I had to do it. I said, when Bob Iger made that phone call during the earnings call, and he said Avatar Land, and it's gone from Avatar Land to Experience to Destination to Experience to Destination, now back to Experience. I'm like, why is it that you guys are playing word games with this Avatar project? And they're all like, we honestly really don't know. It comes from the top on down. I'm like, so you're telling me none of us are going to get an answer? That's between Josh Tomorrow and Iger.
See, and Conductor, this is exactly it. And that answer is great, because that's exactly it. It's the Experience label is corporate fluff. It's a land. It's 9 acres with an e-ticket. To me, that's a land. And there's going to be a beer cart for sure. It's in DCA. Let's be real, right? Yep. So to me, that constitutes a land. You can call it Experience. You can call it Destination. It's all corporate semantic word games, I think. You know what I'm saying? That's interesting that they said that, though, that they admitted that, hey, that's not even us. That's just
I think that's how it goes now is, I mean, the naming of this stuff is not Imagineering. It's the higher up. So what we've talked about the SEO of rides and all this stuff like that. So that's
might
not
be marketing, Jared.
That's true. Marketing could be part of it.
Now, Remy D, to answer your question, I would not be fine with that. And the reason I would not be fine with that is because Grizzly Peak is one of the strongest areas of that park. So why are we going to replace a strong area with another strong area?
Yeah,
I think the point, right? I think the point of this whole thing for me, I'm not a big Avatar guy. I don't care about the franchise, but I want DCA to be a better park. We need to expand high quality immersive areas in this park. You don't do that by replacing one immersive land for another immersive land. You do that by replacing a really weak area with a really strong area. So no, I would not support that. I want Avatar in this park. I just don't want it to replace an area that doesn't need replacing.
Well, and the other thing too with that is that, remember, the Grizzly Peak area is surrounded on all sides, and everything has to be complementary towards all of those sides, right? So because it sits right up against the Grand Californian Hotel, you don't want a show building up along those windows and balconies and everything else.
Right.
That wouldn't be too good. And then where is the back end of that show building going to be facing? You get into a lot of those kind of discussions. It's like I was saying, it's surrounded, and it's not that big of an area either. Like OG said, keep what's good. Keep the things that guests like, just add to it. Hollywood backlot, or Hollywood Pictures backlot, that area next to Hollywood Land, that needs serious work. Always has. To finally get that addressed would be nice. I will say, though, there have been some discussions online about the possibility that pushing something like Avatar out brings up the potential that other areas of Disneyland Forward afforded to Disney to build on, like the Simba lot, like the Toy Story lot, become more viable. So that's an interesting idea as well.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I do think also eventually I would love to see Disney tackle Pixar Pier. Now, look, I am not one of these people that because I don't like something that I don't believe that it should go away, right? I don't like Pixar Pier. To me, it's very regional parky, right? It feels like a regional thing. I would get rid of it if it was up to me. Like but I do understand that people love it. And so it needs to stay in that park because people do love it. But I wish that Disney would pour some money into this area eventually and bring it up to Disney quality a little bit more than it is now. I think it's an incohesive mess as it stands. And so hopefully one day they address that. So we'll see.
I hope so.
We'll see. Honestly, that's a really good discussion. I like the fact that we all had differing perspectives on the rivers, and we all just, we shake hands and we move along. So that was good. I like that a lot. So we're at 2.5 hours here, so it's probably we'll wind this train down. We'll get to some super chats here because we had some amazing support here, especially from Hidden Geek Village.
Yes,
sir. Shout out Hidden Geek Village. We have a 5 here from Cliff Flicks. I wish they saved the river to build this off to the side of the park and made it 2 to 3 acres larger and more spread out. It's very compact here. I agree. I had thought that as well. And on some level, I think as well, a little more honesty, like if it was a money thing, like not to come out and say that, but you could try and maybe communicate that a bit more, instead of they kind of did the whole thing of like, it just seemed cowardly to have this announcement and then the next Monday come out and it's like you just sneak it into a press release and it's just like you're just scared of the reaction because I think that they knew this was not going to go over well. I don't think that sets well with the fan base, even if there were. I had heard over the years lots of money needed to update the rivers, and that's not making them money. So you're not going to get everybody happy, but at least you can be forthright with the fan base about what's going on.
Well, I do find it interesting though, Jared. If they didn't talk about Tomorrowland, let's just say hypothetically they didn't talk about Tomorrowland, and Avatar was greenlit to the next stage or the next couple stages, I could still see them pulling that Rivers of America card and announcing days, if not a week later, that the Hyperion, which has a strong fan base of not wanting that to go away, to be going away for either Avatar or Avengers Campus. So,
or at least spread it out a bit, let it breathe before you come up with the bad news, baby.
Well, and here's the other thing too. You talk about hiding the bad news because now remember, this is Josh D'Amaro's Disney, right?
Yeah.
And this guy is like a PR Jedi. Okay, this guy's good. Did they not announce the Space Mountain redo because that's a little controversial and they don't want to ruffle any feathers at the expo? Because that was weird how there was so much heat and smoke about that, and there wasn't a single.
Maybe I don't know how. I feel like most people think that ride needs something because most people ride that will say that's a rough ride right now. I do wonder, and maybe we'll hit this next week because we don't want to go too much longer. But I think you could be seeing a shift. What's going to be really interesting is maybe the next 6 months. Do they have more announcements? Because one thing you could say is maybe they're going to move away from D23's being this Super Bowl of theme park announcements. Because one would also think the Carousel Progress refurb, they would have saved that for D23. But they announced that 2 months ahead of time.
Yeah.
So are we getting to this stage now where it's maybe that's why I said I think Spaceship Earth's still on Space Mountain still on the table for that, and some of these other things that maybe they're just going to, because realistically they could announce this stuff in a press release on a Wednesday and they're still going to get a bunch of press about it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they're getting, we'll see. Maybe I do wonder if that's maybe part of the equation going forward is kind of lessening this whole expecting all these major announcements. I was telling Vash earlier too. It's look at the cycle this goes. You go to D23, you present all this stuff, people dig into it, they're excited. You got years till this stuff's even going to remotely happen. And then what happens? That turns negative. People dig into the concept art. Well, what's this? And look at this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Versus how Universal kind of does it. Well, and I'm not saying they're perfect, but they don't tell you much and then they give it to you. And then there's always energy. So instead of that energy being used to dissect this stuff and really nitpick it, the energy is more, what is this going to be? Could this be cool? And maybe this is more of the approach they're taking of just giving you a little bit, and they're just going to string along that information to maybe for that reason, and also to maintain the excitement for the coming years. Instead of giving you one big, here's your big bowl of information, we're going to give you little snacks along the way about what's coming. I do wonder if that's part of it.
Jared, actually, you bring up something that actually popped in my mind by saying how you're laying that out. All these little small announcements before the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls for Disney, I'm kind of wondering now, because people have talked about, even yourself, you've been there, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Destination D23. That happens.
I could have gone last year, but I needed
Okay.
to mow my yard.
So,
I thought it was better choice.
okay. The point I'm trying to get across, though, what if these announcements they made months prior to D23, we could get updates on those projects at Destination D23 that kind of revitalize Destination D23? Because it's just, to be honest, it just sucks so bad.
Well, and isn't Destination D23 a Walt Disney World only event, if I'm not mistaken?
It's company wide. They usually hold it at Coronado Springs, but they discuss things, I believe, kind of similar to, I mean, not as big, but like what they do at D23 is like,
yeah,
they could shift it too.
They could totally shift it.
Yeah,
and it really, I mean, that could make some sense if that's what they want to do. I mean, there are some possibilities, because this one was very different in terms of not only what they said, but how they delivered it, and the little bit of information. Got a lot of stuff too.
Absolutely.
So, definitely possible there. Then we got a slew here of Hidden Geek Village super chats. We got a $5 from Hidden Geek Village.
Thank you.
Hidden Geek Village for another 5 good points on the definition of theming. Thank you, Hidden Geek Village. Another 5 from Hidden Geek Village. Love the discussion and debate. Thank you, Hidden Geek Village. He's got some other ones in there too. Then we have Space Dave 2000 for Canadian 2. Enjoyed Rivers, but Iger was only IP driven.
He is.
That is also very
I'll be fair to that. He is.
Him and his cardigan. Very
yeah, exactly.
Another 2 by Space Dave here says, will prices hit $300 a day by 2028? I think undoubtedly. That's another thing about all this too. When this stuff opens, I think the price of a day ticket, if not at 300, is very close.
Hey,
whenever you're talking about this stuff.
OG.
What's that?
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Top tier pass, $2,500 a year.
Oh man, well we're almost at 2K now.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
at Disneyland, we're almost at 2K now.
Yeah.
I think
because they're gonna have to pay for this stuff, and that's another question of, you know, we won't have time to talk about it here, but it's like them. They also said that some of these lands are opening in sections, which I think at least Tropical Americas and Monstropolis do.
I think so.
Do people come for a partial land, or do they wait?
They did for Galaxy's Edge,
but people didn't like it.
They didn't like it.
They did not like it, and I think that did mess up the. I mean, like Vash, you said before, you only get one first impression, and
that's true.
First impression is a partial land, and really, how's the marketing around that? Do people show up to Monstropolis being like, I want to ride the Doors coaster, and like, oh, it's not opening until next year? Like, people show up to Disney World to this day looking for Harry Potter, even though. So I mean, it's an interesting thing, and I don't know if they'll all do this, but I think you're going to at least get a couple of these that are going to be in phased openings. Especially Tropical Americas and Monstropolis, given that a lot of these are the re-themes of current things that some will be ready before others are. But
absolutely.
Chihuahua Dad 728 for a $9.99. Thank you. Says, which section will we get to visit first? New Tomorrowland or Piston Peak?
Piston Peak.
Piston Peak. I think Tomorrowland is going to be a long project, if I were to guess.
It's going to be 5 years. I think Tomorrowland, to be honest with you, if what I think they're going to do, it's going to be ready by the 80th birthday, not the 75th. That's too soon.
Yeah.
Wow, that's bold. That's a bold prediction.
And then that put the Avatar. What's that put at almost? If that's going to be at least 5 years, what's the Avatar at 8?
I mean,
now
poor OG. I'll be dead before it opens.
OG hair will be just gray at that point. He's got those.
Damn, dude.
That's fine. I shave mine. It's whatever. You know, at least you got it there to play with. Hidden Geek goes for a 10 here. Says, your knowledge is second to none. I appreciate your take on this topic. I'm going to imagine this is all of us. I don't know. Whoever you're talking to.
Thank you, Hidden Geek Village. Very much appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we know it's Vash. All right, Vash. Vash knows his stuff. We know. The fit or the FT. I mean, no disrespect, Vash. For $2, treat fans with respect and explain the process.
Yes,
I agree.
And you know what? That's what they should have did with Avatar. On stage, say this, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Just explain it. I think fans would understand if you just explain what's going on. You know, don't be
happy, but at the least, like, you're not being like manipulated,
right?
And like lied to. You know, I think that potentially makes people more angry than just hearing the bad news that they don't want to hear.
Well, see, this kind of again, I'm not going to go too far with this, but it kind of reminds me with what Chapek announced about their original e-ticket attraction for Avengers Campus. He announced it at the expo, at the parks panel, and then eventually it just got canceled. And it's gone through 3 or 4 different iterations. I don't want to see that for Avatar because I agree with OG having one side of the park being that kind of national forest look, and then the other side having Avatar. It would complement DCA so well. So I do want it to happen. It just where they're putting it, it still kind of lingers to me like how they're going to do it, but I'm excited for them to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, a good point here by Elpatron here says, and to think Epic Universe will expand before all this. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Probably.
I think even the Epic expansions will be open before most of this stuff is. But we also have a 10 here again from Hidden Geek Village. I appreciate the passion, OG. I'm a big Avatar fan and want to see Zootopia, but I will stay open-minded. I'm sure it will be amazing.
I appreciate you, Hidden Geek, and yeah, I'm not really like a big film franchise fan of Avatar, but I am a huge fan of the theme park IP side of Avatar. So, and I'll be the biggest advocate for DCA all day long because I think that park, when you sit feet away from Disneyland, you better bring your A game. And I'm sorry, it's not there yet. So hopefully they can bring it up to par. And I will say this. One positive thing out of the park's presentation for the West Coast, those massive sets for Infinity Defense. Yeah. Nobody was expecting that. Thor's hammer, the Black Panther, bro, massive.
Those were big.
I think it's gonna be different than Transformers. I really do. I think it'll be a different experience. So it'll be interesting to watch.
I kind of want that Thor hammer in my front yard, if I'm being quite honest. Send a message to the neighbors. Like, never mind. I don't know what's going on there.
That's some alpha energy right there, Jared.
If you're going to make a statement, you better back it. You better be jacked if you're putting a Thor hammer in your front yard. That's the way to do that. Hidden Geek Village, another 10. Thank you, Hidden Geek Village. Shout out. You've been insanely just generous all evening long.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Hey, Jared, I appreciate your take on the river. To be honest, last year was my first time at Disney Magic Kingdom, so I don't have that long of history of appreciation. Well, and to be fair, I mean, it's not like I went and just, looked upon the river all the time, but we would walk by and I loved it in the evenings. It was really cool, especially in the fall, little sun going down. It was OG for you. It was vibes. You just walk around. It was a real nice setting. And it's just one of those things where sometimes you don't know how good it is until it's gone. And the last time I went through there, I was like, this just feels so weird. Like it just feels like a very weird park without that river just anchoring that entire end of Magic Kingdom. But it is gone. And Red Bandana Gaming, what's up, Logan? Says for $2, no HHN talk. How dare you? Listen, we will have plenty of HHN talk because this time that will D23 eats up all the headlines here. But I mean, next week you got D20 or not? You have HHN starting very, very soon. We will do a bunch of breakdowns on this. I know OG Conductor. If I know Vash is into Halloween, if he is, he will know all the houses and everything behind him.
Soon.
And Tommy Toon.
Tommy Toon as well. Yes. Are you going to Orlando's or out there in Cali, OG? Or Vash?
Hollywood.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we will talk. We will have plenty to talk about that because I'm looking forward to this year's HHN for sure. Absolutely there. But yeah, thank you everybody for the super chats and the support. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys in the chat for hanging out. This was a really fun stream. Shout out to Wicked as well for coming on here, hanging out. Yeah, shout out to Conductor and everybody here. So before we get out of here, let's just let everybody know where they can find you guys out there. Orange Go 55. Thank you as always for being here and your passionate support for Avatar. James Cameron is going to send you that check in the mail. It's sending your way. James Cameron had fingerless gloves eating a hot dog the other day. It was the weird. Someone spotted getting a hot dog. He's wearing like just workout gloves while walking around. And I was like, that's a weird.
That's very strange.
Very weird.
Okay. He's kind of losing it a little bit, huh?
You got so much money, you don't need fingers on your glove anymore. I don't know.
It's kind of interesting though that he was in Santa Monica and not actually at D23.
Right.
He lives in New Zealand, right? So it's like it's a little weird.
That is.
I could say the same thing about what's his name? Oh my god. I just had his name in my mind and it just popped away. The guy that did the Odyssey.
Oh, Chris Nolan.
Nolan. Yeah.
He was at Universal today or yesterday, riding Fast and Furious. So
You know what that means? He's directing the next Fast and Furious movie.
Oh, there you go.
You can hear that. You can hear that guy screaming all the way to Toluca Lake. You know.
I do imagine he was just on that ride, just not no emotion, just rides through. And he's like, "That was nice. That was fantastic. Thank you very much." And it was like, nothing. That's all you got. But sorry, OG. Thank you for being here. Where can they find you out there on the interwebs and everywhere?
Yes, it was awesome talking shop with you, fine gentlemen, and big shout out to Wicked Virtue as well. All of these fine fellas and lady. Their information will be down in the description on my channel. So check them out and subscribe to all of them if you haven't already. And if you're watching this on their channels, you can find me right here on YouTube as well. Orange Grove 55, Instagram and X, Orange Grove 55. Thank you so much for having me and everybody in chat. It was dude, this was a great conversation today. It was a really, really good time. Love nerding out with everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Vash, thank you for being here. Wealth of knowledge over here at the Vash Sky Parkcast. Where can they find you? And I know you got a live stream going on tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. Definitely a live stream going on tomorrow. That's going to be. Am I still on? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
StreamYard was delayed a little bit of that. Sorry. Yes, definitely a live stream tomorrow. Definitely going over a lot of the things coming out of D23, maybe some additional information, so forth. But there's so many other stories actually going on that, you know, haven't been featured heavily. So we'll go ahead and discuss a couple of those. Like, for example, who keeps jumping off Tiana's Bite Adventure at Disneyland? Goodness gracious. Well, looks like the company's going to do something about it. That's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Going over maybe perhaps Bob Iger and him getting a window on Main Street. And what yesterday's tomorrow really means. All of that and so much more tomorrow following That Park Place at 2 p.m. Eastern. And Thursday, we're going to have our live stream as well at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Should be a lot of fun. Cannot wait to bring you in. I think Vash and Vixen, we're going to be talking about Autopia on Saturday, I do believe. So keep on the lookout for that. And so much more here at the Vash Sky Park Cast. OG, Conductor, Jared, Wicked, thank you so much. Links in the description.
Absolutely. And before we get to Conductor, Ace, by the way, I love this name, Ace Ventura. That's like the best name ever. Nolan probably thought the ride needed deafening brass horn sounds added.
Probably.
Anyways, Theme Park Conductor, thank you as well for being here. And obviously went to D23, bringing a nice perspective there and everything about, especially Disneyland. I always love hearing about that. As I'm going to go next year, so I'm learning about Disneyland through osmosis. And I'll be, a quarter of an expert by the time I go, perhaps. But thank you for being here. Where can they find you out there and what you got going on?
Absolutely. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we will have Orange Grove 55 on this week's Conductor Sunday live stream.
Yes.
Send my invite to you as well, Jared, Vash, if you're available. And we're going to talk D23. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Halloween season. Actually, it has already kicked off here on the West Coast a little bit, with previews at Knott's Scary Farm as of tonight for employees and media. Also at the Disneyland Resort at DCA for Oogie Boogie Bash and so much more. And I want to give a big shout out, not only to Jared for always being an amazing host, but to these fine gentlemen for always giving their wealth of knowledge. And a huge, huge, huge thank you to Hen Geek Village for all the love and support between all four channels tonight. Also, I did grab some extra freebies over the weekend, so I will start a temporary giveaway very soon with D23 merchandise. So stay tuned for that.
Love it. Oh, by the way, Jared, before we go, I do have a drop. We talked a little bit earlier about Optimus Prime, right?
Right.
So I thought this would be appropriate maybe as we're winding down.
It's been an honor serving with you all.
There we go.
So good. Every time I ride that ride, and he's like, "Thank you, freedom fighter," and I'm like, "Damn it, you're welcome."
This makes me feel like one.
One day I am going to find a transformer. I know I'm going to find it one of these days. But well, speaking of drops, well, first off, if you're looking at the other channels, you can find me at Captain Magic. I do daily videos, theme park entertainment, all that stuff. Very similar to OG, the East Coast version, in many ways. We don't really get onto ancient civilizations on my channel, but I do love talking about it. We need to do one of those soon. That's a good one to do.
We do.
And you might get this is a brag. I'm just going to put it out there, little as we're leaving here. If you're wanting to know, can Jared drop buckets here on Captain Magic? That's what you get on this channel. All right. You just get buckets.
It was impressive.
Boom.
The backstory to that is there was that or the AP night, and the Simpsons games were free, and there was like 30 people in that line. And my daughter, I played basketball my whole life. I hadn't played for like 2 years. My daughter's like, "My dad's gonna make it." I'm like, "Shush your mouth! No, don't," because the guy before me just bricked it. So I was happy. I just wanted to at least hit the rim. I made it, but I looked like a hot shot, and I walked away. After one shot, "Do you want another shot?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah. Now, Jared, did you want to? I did add it to the media. Do you want to add? I'm an influencer now. Did you want to add the drink review?
Oh yeah, that's in there. Yeah, OG did a drink, guys. OG is now an influencer.
Yes.
It's actually really good. So you can be looking forward to OG's food reviews, and he's becoming an influencer here. And wait, how do I play?
What's going on, Disney adults? Today we are reviewing an exclusive here at California Adventure, right at the Disneyland Resort.
Yep.
It's a new drink. It's called the Grizzly. Let me go ahead and bring up the camera, Webber. The Grizzly is a fantastic new beverage here in the Grizzly Peak area, and it has a single pine needle on top of a very robust IPA. Looks very, very classy. I'm gonna go ahead and
it looks extravagant.
Oh, very, bro, very. I'm gonna go ahead and taste this, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Oh man.
OG, is that what you call exquisite?
Oh, exquisite, and that pine. The pine tones in there, very woodsy.
Very woodsy.
Yeah,
I love it. It's very on brand and theme with Grizzly Peak here at California Adventure.
Very much on brand. A big shout out to Disney for this amazing drink with the IPA and the great little pine needle on top, bro. I mean, you can't beat that, right?
No,
that's amazing.
That's $1 million right there.
That's $1 million right there, everybody. All right, well, this is our review of
the pine needle. I like I had to reapply the pine needle.
I know, right? You got it, man. You got it.
Listen, you're gonna get food. Very foodie reviews from OG. I'm just gonna try and make baskets, and Vash is gonna know all this stuff about the theme parks, and Conductor is gonna give away D23 stuff. So we get something from everybody around here. All right, it's just all good.
Fantastic.
Are we gonna get Kirkland bidets, Conductor? Are you gonna be giving those away anytime soon?
That's up to the CEO. I can't make that call. All I can tell you is, if you're on the secret list, maybe Santa Claus will be nice to you. Maybe.
Oh dang. Listen, I'm just going to tell Santa, I've been on Conductor's live streams before. I feel like I deserve the Cadillac of bidets. I think it's the best thing.
Conductor, can I get the one that when you flush it, it plays the World of Color song?
That's a good marketing thing. Disney theme songed bidets, and when you flush it, it plays like "It's a great big beautiful tomorrow." Yeah, go, got a good day today.
Oh my God.
Color.
If it's not a good one, you play the Bob Chapek. Like, I'm sorry, I couldn't be the person you needed me to be, and you're like, oh, it was a bad one. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here and hanging out. Have a great rest of your week, and I'm sure we will be doing plenty more content on all this. But we will talk to you guys later, and have a great night. And see you soon. Bye.
Peace.
Thank you.